Hello, everybody, and welcome to the OWN Masters Valencia. I am your host, Panicast, joined by the very handsome Duncan Brawl Stars. How are you doing today, Duncan?
I'm doing fantastic, Panda. Thank you for having me, and I am very excited to get into some of these games today. We've got a bunch of the best teams in Europe, and I could not ask for a better opportunity for my first tournament that I'm casting. Thank you again, Panda.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this one. We have 8 of the best teams in Europe participating, and some of the teams we haven't actually seen in third-party competitive as often as we'd like. For example, Team Heretics, but they are here today to show us what they're made of. We're gonna have 4 matches on every single match day. Basically, it is an 8-team tournament right now. We have a league phase, and each of the 8 teams face off against the other 7 teams. So that's a total of 28 matches over 7 match days that we're going to be having for you. So that's a lot of different great matches. First up today on match day number 1, we have Inner Circle versus Eclipsar Esports, Humble versus Ping Abusers, Reply Totem versus Reverso Gaming, and Team Heretics versus SK Gaming.
Yep, we've got a bunch of great matchups. We're going to see all of these teams playing each other throughout the next couple weeks of this play. And off the first game that I'm most excited for today has got to be our final one, Team Heretics versus SK. Two teams that we've been following for quite some time here, but we've got a ton of great matches, and I just am very excited to get into the games.
Yeah, Duncan, I just have to fix something on your end. It's a mic thing again. I'll just try to do that right now.
Okay.
You can keep yapping.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, I think we should be good now. Okay, should be all good here now though, but as I said, we've got our first match coming up pretty soon with Inner Circle versus Eclipsar. Definitely 2 teams that I'm very excited to see play off. Typically not thought of as like the top dogs of EU, but overall definitely 2 teams that can give any team in this region a run for their money. Cannot wait to see what they've got to show for each other here today.
I'm still trying to see if there is an issue on my end here. Is it good now? It's good now? Okay. Great. Okay, we got everything sorted out. Sorry for the issues. We do have some teething problems, but I think we're all sorted out now. I think all the music levels and voice levels are fine. Pan is getting mobbed. Bro, I agree. Look at this guy's face. It's $1 million smile right there. I'm so happy to be casting alongside Duncan, man. Anyway, talking about the format here. Do you want to go over the format, or should I, Duncan?
I would love if you could take that for me, Panda.
Sure. So we had qualifiers for the own Valencia Masters, where we had 4 sets of qualifiers to get our 8 teams. 2 teams qualified from each of the qualifiers to get to this round robin phase. Now, right now, since we're in the league phase, we have 8 teams, and we need to identify who are the top 4 teams that get to travel for a LAN event to Valencia. So on site, we have the finals in Valencia, which we will be casting, and the prize pool is a crisp $10,000, with $2,500 going to go to the second place, $5,000 going to the first place, and $750 going to the third to fourth, and $250 each from the 5th to the 8th place team. So a lot of money on the line here, Duncan. And I honestly think that I should probably get into competitive as a player because this is a lot of money. I want that green.
100%, and you can't have any complaints from any of the teams about unfair bracketing or any of that, since everyone will get to play every single other team. So we should be truly seeing the best 4 teams qualify for this final LAN event. So very excited that there's not going to be any bracket cheese to be spoken of here. We'll get to see every team face every team and get every single best matchup that we could possibly ask for.
Yeah, for sure. And just for people who are joining us right now, I did mention that it's going to be 7 match days here for the league phase. And we have 4 matches per day. So today we're going to have Eclipsar Esports facing off against Inner Circle, Humble, the world champions, against Ping Abusers, the Dark Horse probably, Reply Totem against the Reverso Gaming, and Team Heretics versus SK Gaming. So quite the star-studded cast of, I guess, organizations and the amazing rosters that they do field at the same time. So going to be quite great. We're just waiting for some of the teams to really get into their lobbies right now, and then we can possibly start moving into the draft and whatnot, Duncan.
Yep. We are truly going to be seeing the best of the best in EU. We've got a bunch of teams that if you watch any of the Brawl Stars monthly finals, then you're definitely familiar with teams like Humble and SK that are currently leading off the BSC tournaments there. But then we have some lesser known teams, like we said, Ping Abusers likely our dark horse of this tournament, but should be very excited to see if they step up to the plate in their biggest, some of their biggest tournaments that they've gotten a chance to compete in yet. And then as well as some teams like Reverso and Eclipsar that have really been making waves in the last couple of rounds of monthly finals play. So very excited to see some new teams get a chance to shine, as well as some of the titans of the EU region.
Exactly. And in EU, we've recently just had the monthly qualifiers. In all the regions, we've had the monthly qualifiers that just were completed. And we have some big upsets here and there. Like, one of the examples of an upset here is we don't see Popper or Supermassive in the monthly finals for, I think it's the first time this year, which is kind of crazy considering they did have a possibility of making it to the Brawl Cup. They also didn't qualify for the own Masters Valencia as well. But Esports is also a no-show here, but they did qualify for the monthly finals. So a lot of different storylines to really discover and go into. Like, for example, Inner Circle, the one team that we're going to be seeing first up, they failed to qualify for the monthly finals, and I believe they were swept by Code Gas. Use that in the Brawl Stars shop. In the early rounds of the upper bracket, they went on to be Dark Eagles, but their road to the monthly finals were stopped by Reverso. The defending monthly champions Eclipsar Esports were swept by Popper Supermassive in the upper bracket, but they managed to beat Experience NXT and had a pretty easy line of sight to book themselves a berth in the monthly finals. So my money here is really on Eclipsar Esports to get the dub, but the unpredictability and the explosiveness of Inner Circle is something that I am very worried for Eclipsar Esports, because we know how good Mebius, Knob, and Rama are here in this competitive scene, Duncan, and I don't know if Eclipsar is ready for the smoke, but you know, they're doing pretty well recently.
100%. Eclipsar has definitely been one of the most impressive teams coming out into this season of Brawl Stars play. But Inner Circle, those three names, Mebius, Knob, and Rama, definitely three of the better players in EU. 100% you've seen them around if you've watched any EU tournaments before. So these are three players that I would definitely expect to put up a very strong fight against one of our stronger teams in EU. The way I see it, I think that this match could go anybody's way, first off, Panda.
I'm just saying, you mog me, bro. We finally get into our draft here, and it's gonna be on Hideout. So the bans are gonna be Jean, Bray, Lumi, Kit, Buster, and Lumi. So Lumi being double banned out makes a lot of sense considering how broken she actually is in this specific map. I did not mention the maps here, so we're gonna have Hideout followed by Out in the Open, then Open Zone, Hard Rock Mine, and Safe Zone. And the first pick by Eclipsar, it's going to be Ollie here, Duncan.
Yep, 100% not super surprised to see Ollie going first off the board. Obviously, in a mode like Bounty or Knockout, you are typically going to see these longer range brawlers go off. But the exception is a brawler like Ollie, who has been broken for so long. You have that jump to get over any single sniper shot or those walls there. So not surprised to see that go off the board, especially followed by a Mandy there, the queen of snipers in Bounty and Knockout right now. So not too surprised by any of these first two picks. Personally, I am a huge fan of the Mandy, especially when you pair it with an anti-tank like RT. So that makes a lot of sense coming off the board 2-3 to me. Panda, what do you think about that?
I think this is a really great pick coming from Inner Circle. They have their fundamentals down on lock. They have RT as well, just gonna pepper a little bit more zest to the whole situation. I like the Bell because when you are in a good position, you're forcing the other team to get into your line of sight. So those Bell shots are gonna be playing quite a big role here. And Leon, I think it's probably one of the better assassins on a map such as this one, especially considering the fact that Tick is banned out. We're gonna have a Juji coming in last, and I like this Juju pick because the win rate is almost 2/3 of the time, and it has a pretty high pick rate too. So all in all, I like both the drafts, but Eclipsar has just something special to me here, Duncan.
100%. Eclipsar is definitely going to be the more aggressive of these two comps, with the Leon as the assassin as well as Ollie as a tank there. They both have abilities to be able to make that last second play to take those stars at the very end of the game right there. Inner Circle does seem to have a little bit more of a standard bounty comp to what I'm typically used to seeing with their long range as well as the best thrower in the game right there. Just looking at the drafts, I would expect Inner Circle to hold a majority of the control, but if it comes down to the end of the game, don't be surprised at all to see Eclipsar taking those stars at the last second.
Dude, that was an astute observation there, and I'm excited to see how the rest of this cast goes just based off of that. We should be going into our first set of this best of 5. It's going to be a best of 5, best of 3 sort of situation here, so gotta hold on to your horses. And the dying seconds of this set are it's gonna be going down the wire for sure, considering the composition. Just like the fact that all you can just jump in, use the gadget, pull people away from the nucleus as we go into our first game here between Inner Circle and Eclipsar Esports in this hideout set here. And already a great start coming in for Inner Circle. Nob already finds a kill as well, and they extend the lead. So despite the blue star going to Eclipsar, I see how to control it here.
Yep, unsurprisingly, Eclipsar is going to be able to grab that blue star kind of for free with the Ollie having the most HP on their team right there. But as we said, Nob was able to pick up a kill there, and it looks like the Leon pick is getting a little bit bullied as of right now, as he's going to go down for the second time to Nob on that RT. So impeccable taps from from Nob on the RT right there. Definitely a brawler that is pretty difficult to hit shots with consistently, and Nob is just showing why he's one of the best of the best here.
Yeah, it's basically two different schools of thought here. You have very aggressive newfangled compositions from ECP. Nice jump from C7 to try to get out of that situation. He does. And now Nob is in an awkward position where his super is down and his legs are going to be buffeted repeatedly. But on the other side, Marco goes down. So that is looking great for IC, despite the fact that they are in a very sticky predicament. And Nob finally goes down to Marco's shurikens.
Yep, and the lead's going back to ECP here. But just the one thing I have to say about this so far, as the Mandy's Candy does connect though, but the draft pick I was the most suspicious of here going into this game was the Leon, and that does seem to prove to be a correct observation so far, as he has been a majority of the deaths for ECP so far. But either way, they are only down by 3 stars right now, and they do hold control of that blue star, so they should only need 1 kill onto either Nob or Mebius to be able to take this away.
Yeah, and here we are going to go into the dying seconds of the match, 13-10. Dawn is trying to get in an awkward position, make Mebius take a fall here. Mebius finds Hypercharge. They're able to get the kill on a C7. That's going to be huge. Inner Circle should be able to get this one. There is a final kill, but it is still Inner Circle prevailing over Eclipsar Esports, taking that first game.
That was incredibly well played by Nob, knowing the score and knowing that he was able to tank for his team. Even if he goes down, they knew that they had that blue star advantage. So incredibly well played to Nob there. And that is going to be our game number 1 going into the hands of Inner Circle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Eclipsar Esports have a way forward here. I felt like the Leon was quite underwhelming in the way they were approaching the entire thing. So going forward, I think that Eclipsar, if they do change up their strategy, it's going to be quite beneficial for them.
Yep, and it looks like they are changing up their strategy, sending the Leon towards the Mandy lane, which does seem to me to be his best matchup there. I feel like last game he might have just been trying to work towards that hypercharge, which obviously is incredibly important as a Leon, but if it takes 3 or 4 deaths to get there, then maybe not be worth it at the end of the day. Seems like the same conclusion that Eclipsar is coming to themselves.
Indeed, with a minute 22 on the clock, it's still anybody's game. Just a blue star on Eclipsar is something to keep track of here. I think this is what Eclipsar wants. Last time we did see Marco getting taken out very early. We do see some guys coming in from Mebius just to ensure that Marco doesn't get too comfortable in this backline and the bushes here. But so far, it seems to be a stalemate here, Duncan.
Yep, definitely a lot more passive than the last game. Obviously, without the Leon taking these deaths, they don't have to play nearly as aggressive as once before, and the Mandy is going to miss that first super of the game. So all that hard work from Mebius to get that super has gone to waste. Either way, though, they still have full positioning with the Mandy going into the Leon's face. Marco is going to come out on top of that interaction. So we're going to see Eclipsar's lead get extended here, Panda.
It's a great spot for Eclipsar here. The 3-star lead is huge, but Marco does get marked up a little bit too much for my liking. He does have a super though, so that is something to think about, as IC need to be very careful about how they hold this line of sight. They don't want to go in without getting a kill here. With 20 seconds, I feel like IC are in a decent position to really get something going, but they are down here, and C7 goes in with a super, is able to get Mebius down with the gadget as well. The entire team collapses on IC, and IC are completely left to dry here.
Yeah, I don't see a play that they could have here, because even if they do manage to push up with their not as aggressive comp, I mean, you see how many bell traps are on the floor right there for Rama to walk through, and as expected, the Eclipsar is going to be able to walk away relatively safely with a 5-3 victory right there. I just don't really see Inner Circle having the the type of comp that's able to push into the last second, unless you do have that Mandy super or obviously the Mandy hypercharge as well, that can kind of just completely sway the end of the game in their favor.
Yeah, it is interesting because we see time and time again that the Eclipsar composition allows them to pick up the blue star, but after that, it's all about IC playing to Eclipsar. As long as Eclipsar don't get any kind of weird deaths where they are over-aggressing and get caught out, I think it's a pretty easy way for them to win because they do have a lot of utilities to keep IC at bay if they are pressured repeatedly.
100%. With the IC comp, they obviously have that longer range, but they don't really have any brawler that can make a dive in at the last second to be able to kind of take those stars. So I feel like Eclipsar is going to be perfectly content just juking out some of these RT and Mandy shots and just trying to play for the end of the game. And then obviously they'll have their 10 trillion bell traps waiting for IC as they try to push in for that final kill.
Hey, that's not an over-exaggeration in the slightest. The bell traps are a huge hazard, and we may joke about it, but towards the end of the game, with Eclipsar having control here, I mean, at least having the blue star here, it's going to force IC into all of these traps, and that's going to be a death sentence here. They also have to be careful because C7, if you are just going to overcommit here and there, you might just get caught out. Mebius still doesn't have a super or a hypercharge.
Yep. And that's the player I was keeping my eyes on as well. Definitely looking for Mebius to be able to get that super, to be able to get that hypercharge. But they do end up taking out Marco on the Leon right there. So we actually are going to see IC take their first lead of this game and the first lead of the last two games, actually, as they are now going to be on the back foot, which should make it much easier for Mebius to get that super, for Rama to get that Grigri. And it might just make it a lot of a harder push for C7 and Marco to make those aggressive plays at the end of the game.
Ooh, Mebius goes down. Nob is also certainly going to be taken down with those legs really having no recourse there. And ECP have a huge lead of 4 stars here. IC have their work cut out for them, but with Mebius being slowed down, it's even worse as those traps come into clutch situations. Marco going to be taken down here, but it's a little bit too late for IC as Eclipsar take the second game and their first set.
Got to give it up to Eclipsar there. I feel like they did not have the most strong comp in the world, but they played it fantastically. They knew the strengths of their comp. They had to get that blue star and then kind of wait back and chill with the bell traps. That's exactly what they did. They didn't overextend when they didn't need to. And after a pretty rough first game from Marco on the Leon, I have to give it up to him, man. He played a lot better. He preserved his life when he needed to, and he was able to get the important kills with his super that they needed to extend that lead at the end there.
I mean, beautiful plays. I felt like this was going to be one of the eventualities of the composition. We started out with Eclipsar getting the blue star in all 3 of the matches, and the name of the game was just keeping control for them. And for IC, it was just trying to get 1 kill and force Eclipsar in a situation where they had to play against the Juju with no real way to get Juju out of that point there. So well played from Eclipsar. They had to execute at the highest level. There was, I guess, the paradigm which IC were going for, which was basically a very fundamental composition for this map. But I think that, being adaptable and adjusting to the meta at hand is basically the reason why Eclipsar keeps on winning a lot of these matches against such premier teams in EMEA.
100%. Obviously, the draft might not make the most sense to everybody there. I personally was still a little bit surprised to see the Leon work out as well as it did, but that's just what you get when you get all these high-level scrims with the best of the best teams. They've ran all these comps a million times over, and they know exactly what is going to work, especially into a brawler that is very broken in the bounty meta, such as Mandy. If you find those a little bit off-meta counter picks like Leon, that can definitely work out to your advantage, and that's what Eclipsar showed us with game number 1.
Yeah, we're going to be steadily heading into set numero dos. It's going to be out in the open. And in this map, despite the fact that it is out in the open, the map is quite cagey. There are a lot of walls. There are a lot of unbreakable walls. There's some grass cover as well. So this map is going to be quite hotly contested. We're going to go into our draft here. The bans are going to be Buster, Squeak, Ollie, Lumi, Angelo, and Brock. First pick for Inner Circle going to be the Gene.
Unsurprised to see the Angelo and the Brock banned out here by Eclipsar. Those are 2 very strong first picks because a lot of this map is determined by if you're able to get into the action quicker. So that's why you're going to see a lot of these water walking brawlers be more prevalent here, including our second pick of the draft, which is going to be Eve. And it looks like Eclipsar is going to be pairing that up with a Bo, who has come back into the meta since receiving his hypercharge. But that supercharge totem is also going to be very helpful for himself and his teammates. Definitely going to be trying to charge that Eve and that Bo hypercharge a little bit quicker than expected.
Yeah, and one other thing about bow is that it just hits like a truck. It has a lot of damage output, so you got to be careful. Just getting into the line of sight of the bow as well. Juju's going to be coming out for inner circle. I like Juju for a lot of different reasons because of the amount of range that she gets with the grass cover. Every time you go in the grass, her projectile gets even longer, and the fact that you can just walk over the water on the left hand side just makes Juju a natural pick, especially to be diametrically opposite to the Eve pick on the other side.
Yep, definitely unsurprised to see 2 water brawlers coming in, 1 for each team. With the Angelo being banned, these are obviously the next 2 best there. And it looks like they're going to pick up another brawler who does have that ability, maybe not all the time, but RT is going to be coming in as more of an anti-tank option. So now Eclipsar is going to be a little bit limited in what they are going to be able to go with this last pick. Probably don't want to go too aggressive into brawlers like Jean and Juju that are going to be charging their very, very powerful supers off of you. And now, of course, they have that RT to be able to prevent that assassin dive.
Yeah, the assassin dive was something that I was kind of concerned about, but now it's going to make sure that brawlers like Lily, maybe the Fangs, even say a Gray might not. Gray is still probably going to be good, but you know, a lot of the assassin picks are going to be very, very contested here, as Piper is going to be picked up by Eclipsar Esports. So this is slightly unconventional for me, considering how Eclipsar does like to have a little bit of an assassin brawler in their lineup here, but Piper, in terms of fundamentals, makes a lot of sense in a map like this.
100%. Piper's always been a fantastic sniper in Knockout and Bounty. Into this comp, it is going to be a little bit more difficult to play. I do believe that besides the Juju, assuming she doesn't have a shield ready, she can't really two-shot anybody, or rather one-shot and then gadget kill. So it's definitely going to have to be a little bit more consistent damage coming out from the Piper rather than just a flashy kill here or there. But if you are skilled on that Piper, you can always make it work pretty much in any Bounty or Knockout situation. So I'm definitely looking forward to see what Marco has to offer on the sniper.
We're going to go into set 2 between Inner Circle and Eclipsar Esports. Eclipsar took the first one in a very contested manner. I wouldn't say it was a complete stomp there. So we go into our second set. Rama is just going to be here on the back lines. Surprising that he wasn't able to get into the bushes quick enough, so that's going to be something that's going to be hurting them as the game goes on. Nob as well just has to focus on trying to farm his super, get that value up, because that magic hand is such a huge utility and an asset for the Inner Circle squad here, Duncan.
100%. I'm not surprised at all to see both of these teams taking it very slow. Obviously, Knockout, a lot of professional teams choose to wait until that smoke comes in, which we are going to be seeing now with Rama making his move over that water into the middle of the map. And now we are coming down into the wire here. Rama is going to be the first death there, though. Well played from Don to be able to get a consistent enough damage to go down on him there. And it looks like this is going to be the first round wrapping up for Eclipsar. Very, very well played. They waited for their time to shine, and they did not let the Juju ever get established in the middle of that map. Didn't let her get a super. So fantastically played to Eclipsar going into round 2. I would expect a little bit more of the same. Very passive gameplay without any Gene super online yet.
That is 100% true. As we go into the second round here, Eclipsar, I feel like they were very patient and they ensured that they were able to take down members of Inner Circle repeatedly as the storm started blowing in. Here, though, Nob has a pull, and respecting that, Eclipsar have moved all the way back to spawn. They don't want to necessarily get taken out so early, but they have to make something happen. It's a now or never for them, really, as the control here. Ooh, nice pull coming in. Marco goes down. Next to fall is surely Don, as he's going to be up against Mebius and Nob. Falls by the wayside, and the last person to survive is going to be the Eve C7 following, and that's going to be a swift response from Inner Circle.
Very swift response, and you can just see how the tide of the game changes once Gene does get that super. He's just able to apply so much pressure because nobody except for C7 is able to really tank that. I suppose Bo might have the totem there. Have not seen it yet, though. So definitely they have to put some respect on the Gene's name, back off from him, and that just allowed his teammates to be able to get so much free positioning. I would expect them to play a little bit more aggressive this time. They are going to be playing the Eve pets down to provide a little bit of cover for their Piper to not get pulled there, but we'll see how this goes here. If they're able to get through those Eve pets, then Nob might have another chance to hit a beautiful pull. He survives on one shot right there. Unfortunate for Marco that he wasn't able to get that kill, but we're going to be coming into the end of this round with the Gene pull still in hand.
Ooh, Hypercharge being popped by Marco. Tries to find some shots out front. Rama finds a kill as well. Hypercharged by Nob. He needs to get these pulls and needs to collaborate with Mebius. But a nice jump from Marco is going to ensure that he survives just for a little bit, though. Gets taken out. C7 falls. Now it's going to be Dawn here. He's the last man alive. He has taken down Nob. But now it's going to be Nob versus Mebius. But with that super there, it's basically Inner Circle taking game number 1.
Yep, with that positioning, pretty impossible to push out of the smoke into an RT in his split form. Definitely a little bit unfortunate for Bo there, but well played that game. Definitely was a little crazy to see the gene pool being missed and still working out, but an electric round 1, and I'm curious to see if either of the teams are going to change up their playstyle significantly there.
Yeah, I think that both teams have a path forward to victory here. They have to be careful about how they really play this one. We're going to go into game number 2. Eclipse got the first one, so a pretty good response to their first L that they took in that set there. And how do you think this one's going to be going, Duncan?
I would expect Eclipse Art to be a little bit more aggressive this time, especially Don on the bow there. I feel like they definitely are going to want to apply a little bit more pressure to Nob, especially once he does have that super, because he's going to be trying to move up and get that free positioning, and there might be a window of opportunity to be able to catch him out with a couple bow shots and maybe a Piper shot as well, to be able to eliminate him before he gets too much value out of that pull. As of right now, though, I am not 100% sure if Nob is moving.
Yeah,
and he is going to take down for that. That is unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I mean, Eclipse they're going to be taking those because obviously you do. Unfortunate for IC that Nob was facing a little bit of some issues there. Hopefully it gets rectified before we go into our next round here. There are some E-patches going to be placed down in the map. Gets addressed almost immediately. Mebius can't make something happen. No, he gets taken out. So does Rama. And Eclipse take that first round quite comfortably, considering Nob was out of commission. Now he seems to be back, but I think he's complaining a little bit about his ping or maybe his internet.
Perhaps. Curious if he's going to be asking for a redo here, but that is the most unfortunate player for IC to have not playing, because now he's not going to be very close to that pole, and obviously they're going to need that to be able to take this this round 2 game and even force it into a round 3.
And so far it seems to be quite contested in the mid, though I would say Control is on the side of Inner Circle considering they have most of their members in the mid. But just like that, Dawn has pushed Rama out of the point here in this mid line here, and as a result we see slightly an asymmetrical push coming on the right hand side and a nice snipe from Mebius, and Marco falls. So it's a really great spot for Inner Circle to actually force themselves way back into this round.
Yep, it looks like Marco might have overextended a little bit there and ended up losing the snipe off with Mebius trying to take down Nob there. But that's going to be a little bit more free supercharge for Nob. He's got to be pretty close to his pull at this point. And it looks like ECP is going to be countering that with an immediate Eve hypercharge. So there's going to be a ton of Eve babies coming down here. Not a whole lot of value for Nob to get out of there. Going to be wasting a ton of time taking those out. As well as the RT with the single shot brawlers having a little bit of a hard time into all of these spawners right here. ECP is going to be holding full position right now.
It's crazy how much of pressure that hypercharge from Eve was able to present on the map. It pushed back the entirety of Inner Circle all the way back to the spawn. Nob has a pull here, can afford to move up, but there's a hypercharge put by Dawn just to put a little bit of a wrench in the works, slow down the rate of the game here, Duncan.
Yep, and it looks like Rama is going to be moving up into that main bush now, so he's going to be trying to take advantage of that range. As Dawn is still trying to hold down the left side of the map here, keep that consistent damage onto Rama. The Piper hypercharge is online, not going to be able to find any kills there. Mebius is getting some nice healing from Nob there on that healing pump star power. So going into the end of this game, and Nob is going to hit that pole. Piper is going to be able to get that jump away. We got to see if Rama is going to be able to finish off this kill on Marco, but it looks like this is going to be going the way of Inner Circle Gaming.
Very well played by Inner Circle there to get that dub, and they are able to get their second win here in a row. That means they get the second set. It's going to be tied at 1 apiece in terms of the set score here, and I have to say, amazingly played by Inner Circle. I think that both these teams are actually executing at levels which obviously we as casters will never be able to, but it's beautiful to see nonetheless.
100%. I gotta give it up to Inner Circle for being able to fight through their potential Wi-Fi issues there and still being able to get that W, tie it up at 1-1 overall. I gotta say, I was expecting a pretty even game from these two, and I am not disappointed so far, Panda.
Yeah, it might just go back and forth as we go into the next map. I believe the next map is going to be Open Zone, but just talking about how clean most of these plays have been by both the teams. for example, when Marco went down, I like the fact that Eclipsar knew that, okay, maybe we won't be able to get this set because Marco was a linchpin around which their composition was rooted in. So once he went down, they went back all the way to spawn. They didn't want to feed the other team, and then they used the hypercharges to basically blitz them in the next round. So well played by them in that situation. But I have to say, Inner Circle, they kept their cool considering the fact that Nob was out of commission for one round. I don't know, man. This team has something. They have like nerves of steel.
100%. Can't disagree with you on that at all. I am curious to see if there would have been a better pick than the Piper for the final pick of that draft there. I feel like the Piper was pretty consistently hitting shots, but just not really able to finish anybody off, as you typically are in Bounty and Knockout with those weaker HP brawlers. But it seems like the Piper might have just not had enough firepower to be able to kind of carry their comp over the edge against stuff like Jean with like more guaranteed kill abilities.
Yeah, I like the Jean a lot. I feel like they should have probably gone for a mini Jean of sorts, maybe a Gray. I feel like the Gray's assassin ability is the fact that you can get onto the point and out of situations just using your super. The pulls are so important with the Gray as well. So I think that there are probably would have been a situation where Gray could have possibly been a pick there, but I think that the synergy required to make that execute would probably be quite high. So I don't know if they wanted to just go for something that they were comfortable with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if there is any teams that are able to pull off those high synergy, high communication plays, though, these are the teams that we're talking about right here. We've got the best of the best, so I would expect they would be able to pull that out. But we are going into our set number 3 right now. On Hot Zone, Open Zone will be the map, and it looks like we're going to be seeing Poco, B, Lumi, Ollie, Janet, and Finks all banned out, so not surprised at all to see any of these brawlers eliminated from contention there, as Eclipsar is going to take that Stu with the first pick, Panda.
Yeah, Stu is, I believe, the brawler that's just picked up a lot in EMEA, especially on this map in particular. It has a pretty high win rate of about 75%, so it does make sense in terms of what is required in this map for it to be brought out. It's such a good brawler for going in the back lines once you get the hypercharge, taking out some of the longer range and squishier brawlers like, say, Byron, or maybe even a Bell, for example. Bell is so great on a map such as this because once you have your gadgets up and you have those traps, it's just like a minefield, so to speak, in the middle. So I like a lot of different reasons as to why you go Stu in the first tier, but I think it makes sense.
Yep, and one that you didn't even mention there, the speed turret too in Hot Zone is so incredibly broken. With the gadget rework, obviously Stu's going to have more or less unlimited of those speed turrets, which helps himself, it helps his team, it helps them juke some of those shots to get some of that zone time. We're going to see Inner Circle counter that out with a Byron though, who also with the gadget rework is going to be able to get a lot of those triple shots, which could make it a lot harder for Stu to dodge out. They're going to pair that with a Meeple, and then Eclipsar is going to be grabbing a little bit of a more aggro pick right there with a Draco.
Yeah, I like this Meeple pick. It just is so great once you have those matches of Meeple down, or even the super. You can shoot through walls, get even more damage. The Draco is a good shout coming in from Eclipsar. It has a lot of HP. It's quite tanky, and the burst potential it has once it's in its super is quite massive. Being paired with a Bell, so they have assassin, they have long range, they have the tank. So it's a pretty well-rounded comp from Eclipsar.
I 100% agree. I think the Bell is a fantastic pick into the Byron and the Meeple. She's going to be able to play her range there. I think Bell is definitely one of the hardest Meeple counters in the game too. And obviously Meeple is a very oppressive brawler. They're going to be taking a Lou with the last pick though, who I'm honestly quite surprised to see make it this far down in the draft, especially with Eclipsar taking a Draco and not worrying about that Lou last pick. So you've got to wonder if that's something that maybe they were prepared for ahead of time, because I have a hard time believing they would not imagine that Inner Circle would counter with that Lou last pick. But the Stu and the Bell have decent matchups onto him, so I'm very curious to see how the matchup like lanes are going to go here, like who's going to be on the Draco, and if the Draco is going to be trying to force those lane switches quite proactively.
Yeah, it has to be a sniper mid-off, followed by Meeple taking on the Stu and the Lou onto the Draco. Otherwise, it's not going to be that great for the side of Icy, as there's already a mansion of Meeple there on the middle. But Icy have just been given license to go to the mid. It seems like Nob might be having connection issues again. He is late to the whole situation. It's actually Marco this time around, and with the speed zone on the back lines, that's good, but they already have a very bad start. They're down by about 15%.
100%. We're going to be seeing the Draco gadget come through here, but C7's not going to be able to outlive that much longer. We do see Don hitting that bell mark onto Mebius on the Lu there, though, and Don is going to be doing a ton of work over here, trying to clean out some area for Marco to move up back into the mid.
Ooh, big super along with the Mansions of People. Marco gets taken out. Now Don has to find some shots off on a knob to push him out of the point here. C7 going to be going in, but this Draco without a healer is very difficult, especially with the Lu being there as well. But Marco gets the kill on Mebius. That's going to be huge. C7 goes in onto Rama. Not able to find the kill, but Rama is in a really bad spot, but he gets helped out with Nob, and Nob is able to completely neutralize Marco, and that is great for the side of Inner Circle, as they have a 50% lead here, Duncan.
Yeah, 100%. I got to give it up to Nob. He's playing a fantastic meeple so far. He's gotten so much value out of those gadgets, out of those supers, but Eclipsar is going to be taking a little bit of zone time back right here. We'll see if Nob moves up and decides to use that super or not. It looks like the Draco did manage to escape from there. So we're going to be seeing IC come into the mid right here, trying to take back that zone as a full team right here, but it looks like Don Hypercharge is going to be doing a ton of work right there. And either way, it looks like Inner Circle will probably be taking the rest of this game, assuming Mebius is able to hit that Hypercharge. Either way, I don't think it's enough. And it looks like we're going to have Inner Circle taking a 1-0 lead in Hot Zone.
That was beautifully played by Inner Circle. Obviously, at the start, we did have Marco coming into the mix a little bit later, and that might be playing into how this one actually goes, because once you lose control, it's really hard to win it back. But Nob was playing it quite effortlessly on the meeple. He got his gadgets down, his supers down, just completely wrecked the opposition. So we have to see how this one does play out. But I think that Eclipsar is going to be a bit more explosive, especially going into the second game here.
I think they're going to need to be. I think with the Draco, if you do get bullied out of the mid at the beginning of the game, it's going to be tough to find any value from the Draco really coming back into a three-person group in the middle right there. So it looks like he does have a little bit of a better start, but either way, I'm still just not really the biggest fan of the Draco pick. To me, it seems like he's feeding quite a fair amount of super to Inner Circle right here, and he's going to be going down. He will have super on respawn, but I'm just not sure if it's doing the most so far. Either way, Eclipsar is off to about a 20% lead.
Ooh, Marco getting taken out almost immediately is very unfortunate, especially the fact that he wasn't able to get his speed zone down for his teammates. There is a nice super coming out from Nob to ensure that they can't hide behind the back lines, but C7 goes in. He's able to get the kill on Rama as well, and now he is seated on the Draco inflatable dinosaur, but can he get a kill here onto Nob? I think he's just holding back the IC team, just allowing his teammates to get a little bit more possession on the mid here.
I gotta say, he's making me eat my words right there. That was fantastically played on the Draco right there. Able to clear out a ton of room. They still have a 30% lead, but as you see that Byron gadget coming through, I think it hits about every 14 or 15 seconds. So gonna be seeing that triple shot more often than not. And it looks like that loose super is going to be enough to kind of take the zone back here. I would expect Inner Circle to come back, at least tie up the game with this push right here.
Yeah, Mebius does have a hypercharge. That is even more value for them. Now Don goes in, has a hypercharge, able to get the kill on a Rama, marks up Mebius. Mebius falls as well. Don on a tear, gets two people down, and has given ECP back control off the mid.
Don is an absolute madman on the bell right now, playing her like an assassin, absolutely popping the hypercharge and blasting two people right down. We see Mebius come through with that hypercharge, though, going to be able to absolutely delete C7 with the help of Nob on the meeple. And it looks like ECP is going to be getting pushed out of the zone pretty far here.
Yeah, it is back and forth in terms of the ownership of the hot zone. Now you see C7 going in. He is on his mech, but he gets taken out here as the kill from Marco is there, but Rama is going to be there to heal up Mebius. Mebius has been marked up, but he's still alive, and that is going to be Inner Circle actually getting the second win here. That was slightly unexpected, but it's a second set win for them here, Duncan.
Yeah, that was surprising. I got to give it up to Marco. He was doing everything he could to try to bring that game over the finish line for Eclipsar right there, but just a little bit too little too late, not able to get any of the kills, although he was able to survive, not able to finish anybody off there. And we are going to see Inner Circle taking a 2-1 lead after losing that first round.
That was, I have to say, that was kind of crazy because I didn't expect it to go for Inner Circle in the second game. I really felt like at the start when Marco wasn't able to get his possession in the first game, it might have played out differently. It was much closer, I have to say, but I still didn't believe in Inner Circle. I felt like the Draco pick was giving Eclipsar dividends, but at the end, it just didn't matter. Nob was kind of crazy with his meeple there.
100%. I feel like the Draco was a fantastic pick for pressure, but with pressure obviously comes with super feeding as well. And with brawlers like Meeple and Lou, that's pretty much the entire name of the game for them is getting their supers. So definitely a little bit of a give and take with the draft there. Still not 100% sure how I feel about the Draco pick, but it was executed well, just a little bit better of a defense from IC.
Yeah, that Lou was so good. I feel like Lou is kind of slept on. I mean, yes, it's always going to be a great brawler, but this meta has become a very tank heavy meta, and as a result, you have to go counter composition sometimes and counter meta picks, which I feel Lou does kind of encapsulate because of so many tanky brawlers. Once you get that hypercharge, it's like basically a get out of jail free button, and especially on open zone, it completely shuts down opposition. So well played by Inner Circle for that draft, but I feel that Eclipse are expected the Lou and felt like they did have something in the bag to take it down with that Draco, but it didn't play out in their I guess their playbooks.
I would expect that they were planning on the Bell kind of being the counter to the Lou there, but anytime you see a hot zone game, especially where you see that Poco ban, my mind immediately goes to Lou every single time. With Poco out of the picture, Lou is still one of the better brawlers in the game. A lot of people remember when Lou was extremely meta, and really the only reason he did fall off was because of that Poco gadget rework. So with the Poco out of the picture, I think Lou is still going to be very strong. Also, Ollie kind of fits into that category as well, but we're going to be moving into Hard Rock Mine here, Panda.
Yeah, and in Hard Rock Mine, the brawlers which are most often picked are going to be Buster, Chester, and Stu. But let's look at the bans. We have a Buster band out along with an Ollie, Buzz, Lumi, Janet, and Meeple. So a lot of the usual suspects out of contention here, with the first pick for Inner Circle being Carl. I like this pick. The crosslane support is great. The fact that you can angle your pickaxe and get those hard to reach positions, and obviously it can't be overstated enough that the gadget heat ejector is so useful on this Carl pick here.
100%. I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised we haven't seen Chester yet, with you going off of the most picked brawlers here. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Eclipsar pick that up to add to their Stu right here. It looks like they probably will be going with a Stu mid. Definitely a very versatile mid. He's going to be able to have a lot of mobility, especially into a brawler like Carl, who does get a lot of their value off of diving in with that super. It's going to be very difficult to catch up to a Stu who's just feeding dashes off you over and over again. So I like the idea of the Stu mid for Eclipsar. The obvious downside to Stu there is that he just doesn't really have the range to be able to win in like a 1v1 snipe off with like a brawler like Gus or something like that. Ooh. But it looks like they're going to be pairing that up with an Ashe. So a very aggro 2-3 pick here from Eclipsar. They've got two fast brawlers with a lot of movement abilities, and I'm very curious to see if they're going to be able, if Inner Circle is going to be able to kind of hard counter this Ashe out, or if they're just going to try to deal with it.
Yeah, this Ashe pick is something to be feared with, because they have assassins, they have a tank which can really come barreling down. I think that Chester is probably a really good answer to the composition which we see right now. Chester with a hypercharge can completely shut down entire teams, and B's going to be coming out. I think that makes sense in terms of the mid position here, but with 100%. Mr. P open, I've seen Mr. P as a mid being brought out by, I believe, Humble in the past, and Squeak as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Eclipse are responding to this one.
Yep, I do like that B pick from Inner Circle. I think that B does have a very favorable matchup into Stu. Like I said, Stu's big weakness is that his lack of range. So if you're able to play that B and just kind of keep your distance, save up your 5k shots for when the Stu doesn't have a dash, it is going to be a very tough matchup for the Stu to be able to finesse out of that lane. And finally, we do see a Chester go off the board here for that last pick for Inner Circle. Definitely an answer for that Ashe pick right there. So you're going to have the Chester that's able to do quite a fair bit of damage to that Ashe. And then also you have the piercing abilities of the Carl, so that his rats might not be as effective. So I think that Inner Circle has done a great job addressing what Eclipsar has drafted so far. I think that so far I definitely, unless there's a crazy last pick coming down here, I think I like Inner Circle's comp a little bit better.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. They have all their bases covered. Eclipsar is going to be going with a Rico here. I feel like this is a very unconventional pick, considering I'd say Rico is still meta on this map, don't get me wrong, but considering what they're going up against, I don't really have that much of confidence in the Rico. And also, if you have the Rico on lane, that means that Stu's going to be mid, and it's going to be going up against a B, which is not really a best proposition considering the range disparity here. But I think that if they use the walls along with the speed zone, they might be able to come out on top here. But I like the Inner Circle draft more, Duncan.
I completely agree. I think that the Rico is a very acceptable lane into the Chester. I feel like that's probably what they're taking it for. But I think that they're going to be counting on this Ashe to make some absolutely insane plays to allow Marco to be able to pick up some of those gems on the Stu. I think without a little bit of help from the Ashe bailing them out position-wise, I think this is going to be a tough matchup for Marco to get away with too many gems.
Yeah, as we go into game number 3, sorry, set number 4 rather, game number 1 of that, and Inner Circle to 2 sets to Eclipsar's 1. If Inner Circle win this one, they're going to be able to get Eclipsar down, and that is a bit unexpected considering the fact that Inner Circle didn't even make monthly finals, and Eclipsar have. So it's going to be weighing on them heavily, and they want to prove to everybody that they still have what it takes to be at the top of EMEA. And right now, they're doing a stellar job of that.
Yeah, so far I was expecting the Ashe to have more of that positional advantage, but so far Don has proven us wrong on the Rico. He is completely dominating this left lane against Mebius on the Carl here, and so far Inner Circle has just not really been able to do anything about Don's positioning. He is in a fantastic spot, and the gem count is showing that, with Marco being able to pick up 6 to Knob's 4 or 5 here.
Indeed, finally, Don gets pressured because of just Knob's positioning, gets taken out by the Carl, which is what they need, and now finally Carl can have a little bit more of a impact of this game, as on the right hand side, because of the rats, C7 has pushed Rama all the way back to spawn. We do see a lane swap though. Mebius is going to be going up against the Ashe on the right hand lane, as Rama goes up against Don on the left, and so far in terms of the gem line, it is 7-6, though there are 2 gems floating very, very beautifully in the middle.
Yep, and I will say I haven't seen a whole lot of Stu dashes on the board as of right now. He did get a couple of dashes going through earlier, but right now he is fully pushed back, no positioning, no dash right now, as Knob is going to grab that 10th gem. C7 is applying a little bit of pressure up on this side, and we do have a Rico hypercharge online from Don, so unless we see a crazy hypercharge come through here, I don't really see what ECP can do about this.
Don has a hypercharge. He goes for Knob. He's almost able to take him out. Oh, wow. That's unfortunate. Heartbreak for ECP as Icy take the first game. In fact, I would mention that ECP, if they stayed in the gem mine, they would probably be able to reset, because the 2 gem mines the 2 gems had already spawned at that point in time. So I'm not exactly entirely sure why they went all in when they could have just held control.
Maybe. I thought there, just like when the countdown started, I thought there might not have been enough time. Could have been wrong about that, but I definitely respect Don going up for that Hail Mary hypercharge right there. It really almost hit him. So, I mean, you gotta respect the Rico super there. Unfortunately, the tiniest amount too little too late, but we'll see if the Stu is able to have a little bit of a higher impact this game. Didn't really see a whole lot from the Ashe either.
Yeah, and I have to mention here that Inner Circle are actually on match point here. So if they get a win here, they're going to shut down ECP after taking the first set loss. It's kind of crazy how well they've done here, Inner Circle.
100%. Yeah, they're playing some fantastic Brawl Stars right now. As we see, Marco is going to be able to tank that 5k with that Stu Totem right there. But once again, still left dashless, not the most mobile as of right now. So hopefully he'll be able to get a super here and finally be able to get cooking at some point. But Knob is just completely dominating this mid matchup for this entire set.
Yeah, the diagonal consistency in the compositions and their positioning is kind of funny, because Mebius not really able to do much against Dawn. On the other side, you have the Ashe not being able to do much against Rama. In the mid, though, we have a small little battle here. I have to say, Marco has stayed alive for so long, but he gets taken out. That's going to be a huge kill. Cannot pick up the gems here, and he's going for it. Gets a hypercharge as well. Is able to get the gems here. Now C7 has to do something. Gets a kill on Rama. Can go up against Nob, but Nob has a hypercharge shot, and that's going to be very scary for C7 to go up against here, Duncan.
Yeah, he's going to have to make an absolutely insane play here. It looks like he's going to get wiped, but Don is coming up from the other side. Didn't even see him sneaking up there. Now we've got Marco picking up 8 of these gems, but he is going to be in a very bad position with Mebius on the Carl up there, able to pinch him out. We do have the gem split here, so Rama is going to have to stay alive for the time being. I've got my eyes on C7 once more here. If he's able to slime up here and make a little bit of a play, but he's going to get deleted by Mebius. Now it's pretty much all up to Don. Not too sure how close he is to Super, but he is fighting an uphill battle here, and that's going to be game, set, match, going to Inner Circle there. After losing round 1, they're able to win 3 in a row. Dominant performance from Inner Circle, and you got to give it up to the boys there.
That was crazy from Inner Circle. They were able to get that dub. quite comfortably, I have to add, because 3-1 against Eclipsar Esports, who are the defending monthly finals champions in EMEA, is not an easy proposition, but they've managed to do it nonetheless. And that really goes to show that Inner Circle are a team to be feared in this EMEA region. With that dub here, they're going to ensure that Eclipsar are going to be at the bottom of the leaderboard. And that's not something that I would expect to say at all here, Duncan.
Definitely a little bit of a surprise. I expected this to be a good match, but I feel like the 3-1 was a little bit out of left field. You got to give it up to Inner Circle. They played fantastic Brawl Stars, especially in that hard rock mindset. Almost zero mistakes made by Inner Circle. They waited for that one slip up from Eclipsar, and then from there, it was all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so at a loss for words about how that happened, but valiant effort from Eclipsar, especially with the Rico. You saw the Hypercharge almost getting the kill on Tanob. We saw the Super getting a kill on the Nob. Marco able to collect the gems, but there wasn't enough support and enough time for Marco to get those gems and dip out of that situation. So I would say that Eclipsar need to clean up a little bit here and there, but I feel like they're still a team that can win every single match if they just, you know, get a lot of those mistakes ironed out. Sorry, a little of those mistakes ironed out.
100%. I feel like, at least in that hard rock mindset, I think that taking the Stew as the mid while the B is still on the board was probably a little bit of a mistake. So maybe they'll try a new strategy going forward on hard rock mind. I feel like that B into the Stew matchup was a little bit too easy for the B though, and that was kind of the downfall of their comp at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that the second, third picks coming out from Inner Circle threw a wrench in the playbook for Eclipsar Esports, and after that they had to play from behind because I still don't agree with the Rico pick. I feel like they could have had much more control if they had went for a conventional mid to go up against the B. I just felt like that misalignment and the lane misalignment really kind of lent itself to Inner Circle getting the better draft overall and the execution of it.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like B is probably the brawler, or not B, Bell is probably the brawler that comes to my mind that could have made a little bit more sense there. Either way, they picked a comp that they felt confident in. The Rico played fantastic, so hard to hate on that too much. But it was just a little bit of an outdraft in my opinion from Inner Circle, and they, after that first match, they proved that they got their drafts locked in right here, and they really did not make any picks that didn't make sense to me.
And I think we're going to be going into our break very soon, just getting confirmation from production as to what the way forward is. But the next match is going to be between Humble and Ping Abusers. Humble, I don't know if you guys know about them. They're like a small little indie org, you know. They just won world finals just like that. They're kind of crazy. They haven't won a monthly finals this year, which is a bit you know, a bit, I guess, not as inspiring for like a lot of the Humble fans, but they've still been up there. They're still in the top 1-2 teams in EMEA along with Eclipsar Esports in terms of the rankings. And right now, with the way the standings are in the BSC, it's very possible for any of the teams in EMEA really to make it to the Brawl Cup. And I feel like right now, for the next 2-3 weeks, it's going to be the battle to the Brawl Cup right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of excited about this one match for Humble. Ping Abusers, on the other hand, have a very, very difficult, unenviable task because they are outsiders here.
Yeah, 100%. This is going to be probably our most lopsided matchup of the day, predictions-wise at least. I feel like probably everyone here is expecting Humble to come away on top. But you always love to see a dark horse story. I'm definitely looking forward to see if Ping Abusers has any crazy picks that they'll be able to pull out of the hat here that maybe Humble wouldn't be fully prepared for. I know Humble is a great team. They're definitely prepared for anything here, but you would love to see them kind of take advantage of that underdog energy and see if Ping Abusers can maybe knock them off their feet with a set win here or there.
And like Humble haven't faced many losses in the past month, having won another major third-party tournament in the last week as well. In fact, it concluded a few days ago with me and Sunny. They were almost swept by Heretics in the upper bracket of the monthly finals, and I feel like, sorry, monthly qualifiers, and I feel like monthly qualifiers right now are very topical because it just concluded. So they got taken in a 2-set loss against Heretics and were able to reverse sweep them, which was a bit unprecedented after taking a heavy beating at the start. But it's Humble. I feel like it's part and parcel. They're used to it. It's their bread and butter at this point. And honestly, though, for Ping Abuser, on the other hand, I don't know if they participated in the monthly qualifiers because Yannick has played in a lot of third-party tournaments, but it's usually with a lot of different rosters. So I think that this man is really great at bringing out teams and bringing them to a level where they can compete at such premier third-party tournaments. So that's something to be cognizant of, because I feel like he's going to be a big name in EMEA as the years go by. But the prospect of going up against the world champions is a daunting one.
Yeah, definitely a tough league play. 100% Humble is definitely one of the more feared teams in EMEA, being last year's world champions, of course. But I would definitely be excited to see if they're going to be able to kind of catch them off their guard at all. Personally, though, I do expect Humble to definitely clean up business here and kind of show that they mean business in this tournament. So we'll see if they're going to be super locked in. Maybe they'll be able to 3-0 sweep, or maybe our ping abusers will be able to kind of catch them off guard. Hopefully we'll have a good matchup ahead of us, though, Panda.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know about who the members of Humble are, chat. There are these three, relatively unknown people: Semantic, Boss, Lukey. Maybe you've heard of them. I don't know. But ping abusers have Yannick. I'm gonna butcher this name. Okay, I don't know how to say it. Melbrot. Chat, let me know if I butchered it. Melbrot and Covers.
Sounds about right.
I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, we got Melbro and Semantic. I feel you guys have probably heard about them the same amount, but it's all good. I'm excited to see what Semantic's got to show today, man. He's definitely somebody who always brings that energy to every single tournament. I'm sure today will be no different, but always awesome when you get to watch the best go, and Humble is definitely one of the best.
Sorry about that. I was just looking at production here, just getting information. In terms of the bracket, we don't have a bracket, so this is a round robin stage. It is the league phase right now, so we have all 8 teams facing off against all the other 7 teams that are going to be there in the tournament. So right now, we're not going to have brackets for this phase, but once we go into the next phase where we have the top 4 teams participating in Valencia, it's going to be a bracket for sure. So you're going to get all that information. But if you're unaware about what this tournament is, in terms of like the qualifiers that we had, etc., it's going to be in the description, or you can type out !info. That will take you to Liquipedia, which is an invaluable source of information for everything related to Brawl Esports. I even gave it a Duncan to get up to speed, because this is his first cast, and I gotta say, as a first cast, he's crushing it. He's crushing it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. That was a great resource. I definitely had to do my studying before this, but couldn't ask for a better guy to go into it with, man. Panda's been awesome, and he's obviously one of the goats at this, man. So definitely getting a little bit carried by my goat Panda here, but we're having a great time, man. I appreciate y'all for watching with me.
I think that the mic is off set for you. So what's happening is that your video feed is not syncing up with your mouth a little bit.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of an issue. I'll try to fix that as we go through it. But in terms of the sound, he sounds fine, right, chat? There isn't any problem with the way he sounds, correct?
Hopefully.
Uh-oh.
I'm seeing hunted emojis.
1 second, I'm going to be moving Duncan around a little bit.
Gotcha.
Yeah, apparently I haven't framed you properly in the video feed. I thought I did, but I guess I hit Control Z. Now you're fine. Now people can see you in all your glory. They could already see you, but it was like not framed properly. Now it's fine.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I see you playing with it right now. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so in our second match, which is Humble versus Ping Abusers, we have 5 new maps for you guys. It's going to be Gold Arm Gulch, Ring of Fire, Last Stop, Pit Stop, and Super Beach. So a lot of long range maps with some KG maps like Pit Stop and Last Stop, Super Beach as well. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. I don't want a stomp personally. I mean, I expect a stomp, but I don't want a stomp. I want to see how good Ping Abusers can push back the Humble side.
100%. And with a map like Pit Stop, that does tend to typically be a base race pretty much at any level, whether you're playing just ranked with your friends or if you're playing in competitive tournaments. There are still going to be those brawlers like Bull and Edgar that come out that can really end the game quickly. So if Ping Abusers is able to avoid a sweep here, then pretty much Pit Stop could be anybody's game. And then at that point, then you never know, you might catch us in a round 5. So that would be pretty awesome to see. Definitely love to see a little bit more of the hectic maps coming into play. But if I'm Humble, I'm definitely trying to wrap it up before Pit Stop gets into play.
And the teams are just getting into lobby here, so we should get started with the matches. Apologies for the delay. Usually we do have breaks between the matches, so I thought we would, and that's oh, okay, so there is a break, but there isn't a countdown, I believe. So what's going to happen in the next match is that we're going to take a small break after the match ends, because otherwise we're going to have a little bit of an issue with like the timing and everything. So hope you guys are locked in, and I'll just play a little ad here so that you don't get ads during the actual match, because that would be detrimental to obviously your viewing experience. And at the end of the day, we want to ensure that you, the viewer, have a really good time here and enjoy what you're watching. Duncan, there's a lot of support in the chat. A lot of people are saying Duncan the GOAT, Duncan's locked in, Duncan's the man. Duncan looks like a basketball player.
Who said that?
One of my followers.
That's funny. Yeah, I see my buddy Miguel in there. That's the homie. Like a basketball player. I'm a little bit of a casual basketball player. That looks like it's back.
Yeah, we're gonna go into our draft, and it is gonna be Gold Arm Gulch, which is next on the docket. And we have our bands. They're gonna be Gene, Angelo, Lumi, Daryl, Gray, and Hit.
Not surprised at all that we haven't seen any Lumi make it through the ban stage as of right now. Definitely not really expecting to see her in play at all today. But the Angelo and Gene bans make perfect sense. The Daryl and the Cat together. If you're going to ban one of them, you might as well ban both of them. So it makes perfect sense there. Curious which team has the first pick here. I would expect it to be Ping Abusers as it is, and they're going to take the thrower with the longest range as the tick right there. Makes sense to me if you want a thrower pick there, who does have a little bit more of a defense into some of those more aggro picks. Like the aggro picks that we're seeing come off the board from Humble here. They're going to be taking the Speedy Brawler Max as well as Buster, so definitely looking to make some of those last second pushes with the max speed, with the Buster shield. It seems to me like they're playing for the end game right here, Panda.
Yeah, I like this composition coming up from Humble. It means that they aren't going to be shying away from aggression, and I feel like that's such an aggressive composition. Buster is so good in the meta, and the fact that you're going to pair it with a Max, I feel like it's almost like a win condition here. And let's see what Ping Abusers bring to the table, as they do have Pick as a first pick, so that's going to be annoying to play around because of the way the mines work. And we have an RT coming out with a Hank. I like this RT pick. The Hank, I don't know if I completely agree with the Hank, but I feel like it can get Buster down, I guess, across the walls or whatever. But the fact that Buster can get his super just by being around his teammates is something to be very worried about for Ping Abusers, as Humble pick a Dynamite. Wow.
That is interesting. I definitely was not shocked to see the RT Hank, just considering with a Buster Max that does kind of eliminate brawlers like Piper and Mandy that you would typically see on this map that do kind of rely on hitting those shots. Obviously pretty difficult to hit a tank and the fastest brawler in the game. The Hank, though, is an interesting one. I do think he has a fine matchup into Buster, and obviously the Max has to watch her distance a little bit, but the Dynamite is very, very interesting. Obviously pros are going to be able to play Dynamite at a very high level, but either way, still a hard brawler to hit shots with consistently, especially considering that these are also the best players at juking. So very curious to see how much value Lukey's going to get out of here, but it could be a very fun pick if executed well, so I'm excited to see what happens.
Ooh, nice pull from Semantic, and Yannick should be the first to fall for Ping Abusers, and that is not great. The perspective is reversed, I believe. We are seeing Ping Abusers in blue and Humble in red, so don't get that twisted. But with all the members of Ping Abusers falling, the first round is going to go by way of Humble.
Yep, you can't have a quick death like that, especially in knockout, and that is definitely going to be them catching Yannick. A little bit lacking right there. Didn't really even have to see too much of a fight put up from Humble right there. So curious how this goes with the max speed coming down now. Cappy is not moving, and that is going to be the first kill right here. Expecting Hank to fall next with this Dynamite on him. Semantic is popping the hypercharge though, and Humble is just holding down full positioning. As long as Semantic doesn't overextend here, I don't see a way that Humble folds this.
I don't know, man. Their name is Ping Abusers, but it seems like they're not even able to connect to the game, so that's not that great here, as Covers is going to be completely collapsed on, and Boss is just playing with his meal right there. And the first game, very, very easily going by way of Humble. Hopefully Ping Abusers can abuse their ping.
Yeah, we see a little bit of a misplay and then a little bit of a connection issue, but either way, everything is falling apart very quickly for ping abusers. Definitely not the start that you want when you're already an underdog. You never want to get clapped up in the first game like that. So hopefully they'll be able to bounce back, put up a little bit better of a fight in game number 2 here. But overall, I still think Humble has a better comp in general with that Max Buster. I feel like it's doing so much work. They're able to get that super so quickly, and it's just proven to be quite effective.
It is beautiful. Once again, Yannick gets caught out by Semantic.
Same way.
That is crazy. And now Semantic's in an awkward position. Gets taken out here. There's a ticket coming in. Big barrel boom. Lukey finds the kill. Copy is the last one on the team to survive, but it gets taken out. And a quick first round for Humble.
Very quick first round for Humble. Yannick's got to look at where he's going this time. We can't have that same mistake happening for a third time here. It looks like he is going to be learning his lesson a little bit and shading more towards the middle. And Boss is actually going to be taking quite a fair bit of damage here, and he's going to get caught by Cover's Hank Bubble right there. So much better start from Ping Abusers here. The first round that they have even a little bit of an advantage. Unless Semantic's able to clean up on Cappy here, who may or may not be playing. I'm not 100% sure, but that is going to be a tough break from them. And now we're going to see the Hank in a 2v1. Not looking the best for Ping Abusers.
Indeed, Luke has a hypercharge, could use it. He gets the kill nonetheless, and that's going to be a swift first set for the side of Humble. Despite it saying that it might be Ping Abusers getting the first set, it's not. It's actually Humble getting the first set. Well, it is a reverse perspective, chat.
Yep, unfortunate for that, but yeah, definitely not the start that the Ping Abusers were looking to start off in this a little bit of an underdog matchup. You definitely don't want to be taking a 1-0 set, so hopefully they'll be able to lock in and have a little bit of a better time in set number 2. Not really too sure if they went wrong in the draft. I'm typically not the biggest fan of Tick first pick either way. Even though he is like a pretty sturdy brawler, he doesn't really do anything particularly great, so I feel like they kind of left the door open for that Max Buster a little bit too wide, and maybe they want to go with a little bit more of a dominant brawler with the next game.
Yeah, and I feel like Yannick needs to have his wits about him, because he was caught out by Semantic so often on the left-hand side. He was walking up the grass, and Semantic had a free reign to just get the pull in and completely take out Yannick from the situation. And I feel like without Yannick, the linchpin of their composition, it's kind of chalked for Ping Abusers. Hopefully, in the next set, which is Ring of Fire, they get something different going on. And just looking at some of the brawlers that are most often used on this map, I believe Stu is one which is used, and that's mostly because of the speed zone, which allows you to get into the thick of things much faster. I think invaluable in terms of a mid brawler here. It has so much of range, and with a hypercharge, you can completely shut down opponents. Poco is another one which synergizes well with so many different tanky options. Poco Draco specifically is such a good nucleus for composition. Other brawlers that we tend to see are Bell, a lot of traps in the mid, and yeah, I think that there are a lot of different schools of thought about how you can go about it, but that's where I'm drawing a blank. I don't know what else to think.
I would say whichever team is banning, or whichever team has the last pick, so therefore they're banning for the first pick, I would expect it to be Lumi, B, and Poco. I really don't see a way that you can leave any of those 3 brawlers open when the other team does have the first pick. Those are just the most impressive brawlers for sure. But besides that, Carl and Ollie can be a little bit more aggressive options right there. Trying to think of what else. Typically, Juju could be in play. Bo could be in play. We saw a little bit of Bo action earlier, and it ended up working out a little bit better than we even expected. But 100%, I would be shocked to see, obviously Lumi, I'd be shocked to see it all in this tournament, but I would be very surprised to see B and Poco make it through the ban stage here.
Yeah, Lumi is a brawler, I feel like, which requires some amount of skill to play, which I do not have. But I know in the hands of the right person, it's very capable. And I don't think either team wants to really face down on Lumi, so which is why you're probably going to see it being banned out by usually the team that has the last pick here, because you don't want the early Lumi pick going to any team. So it is so centralizing in the meta. It defines the meta to the point where you got to remove it to actually play your game plan. So you're not going to see Lumi being played unless teams are very confident that they can completely shut down and isolate the brawler. As we go into our draft here on Ring of Fire.
I think I was right about my options for the ban right there. We do see the Poco B and Lumi get banned. Definitely making me feel a little bit smarter than I am, but we're going to see Ping Abusers Taking the Stew with the first pick after banning Max, Melody, and Sprout. A little shocked to see a Sprout ban take place there, but it looks like they're going to be taking the Bow and the Chester into the Stew right there. It makes a lot of sense. Two brawlers with good damage that, again, outrange the Stew. Shouldn't feed him as much as a lot of other brawlers in the game, so not surprised at all by Humble's draft so far. The Stew first pick is definitely acceptable from Ping abusers, but we're going to have to see how they counter it here with two pretty solid mid-range tank counter options coming off the board for Humble.
You know what's interesting? Even though Chester is a really great brawler, in terms of this map, I haven't seen people bring out Chester as much, so that is slightly surprising. And Ping abusers go for the Mr. P along with a Carl. I like the Mr. P, especially once you get the hypercharge, and the Carl is obviously invaluable in terms of just denying control in the mid once you get the heat ejector. It's great for also, really poking on lane and getting into the grasp of the opponent and being a big nuisance, but I feel like Chester addresses that sufficiently, and Humble decide to go for a Penny as their last pick.
I'm a little bit surprised to see the Penny. I do like the Mr. P pick into the Bow and the Chester. I feel like he's going to be able to get out kind of poke them a little bit, and then obviously those porters are going to be so oppressive once they're on the board. Carl pick makes a lot of sense. I'm a little surprised to see Penny. I feel like Penny has definitely fallen off quite a fair amount. Definitely is being picked as an option into that Mr. P, and also it kind of has the side effect of maybe being able to take down that Stew turret every once in a while too. So if you're going to see a Penny, this is probably the position to see it in, but overall I'm just a little bit worried about her damage output, especially into brawlers like Carl.
The Semantic going up against covers on this left-hand lane. We are in our second set between Humble and Ping abuser. Humble took the first one very easily, I would have to add here, and a nice gadget being brought out by Yannick. Doesn't find a mark though, but has denied them a little bit of control in the mid, but gets taken out almost immediately. And Ping abusers once more caught waffling in their backlines.
Yep, Semantic is causing so much pressure. Even if he's not getting kills, he is just standing up there. They know he's there. They know that they can't move up into the middle until they deal with Semantic, and he is going to clean up right there. So they have fantastic positioning right now. Lukey has got to be getting pretty close to a turret. Boss already has another set of mines up, and I have a hard time seeing how Ping abusers are going to be able to really get back into the mid. But this is a good start with the porters coming down, and they're probably going to be leaving us right upon this moment. So short-lived for the porters right there, and I don't see a way that Humble doesn't take this game home quite easily.
Yeah, they're in such a dominant position already. We have a member of Ping abusers giving up as his covers, and that's going to be game number one for Humble. They haven't really been pressured at all against Ping abusers. It's mostly been a walk.
Yep, the absolute walk in the park for Humble so far. They really didn't show any signs of slipping up there at all. I feel like a lot of the credit for that game has got to go to Semantic, getting wiggly up on that left side with the Chester, just causing so much pressure. And then once they got them out of the bush, or once they got them out of the zone once, they really stood no chance until they could get Semantic out of the way. So definitely a very dominant game from Humble. And with the comps that we have here, I'm kind of expecting to see it again.
Yeah. I have to mention, it was just a complete dominant display coming in from Humble. We're going to go into our second game here. Humble already took the first set. They've already taken the first game. They're just one game away from winning their second set on the trot here. Lukey gets taken out here, so actually a great start from Ping abusers. And if you're not aware, the perspective once again has shifted where Ping abusers are on blue.
Yeah, a little bit of weird stuff going on there, but this is a much better start for Ping abusers. They're able to kill pretty much everybody on Humble immediately right there. Yannick is holding it down on the left side with Copy working, trying to get his border set up here. But we see a Penny turret come down here, so probably Humble is going to be taking this opportunity to get a little bit back closer into the mid, and it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do with the help of that turret.
Yeah, once the turret has set up, you are going to see the deficit that Humble have slowly get reduced, as Ping abusers had a great start. They got 62% right at the beginning, and Humble weren't off the mark, but now we see Humble slowly but steadily crawling their way back in this one.
Yep, they're doing well so far, and it looks like Yannick is going to be making a play for that turret. That's going to be short-lived though, as the hypercharge current now comes down from Lukey. So they're going to be taking back a little bit of that area, but it looks like they did kill Semantic. Boss is going to get a huge kill right there. And if they're not able to kill the Penny, they are though. Okay, interesting. So now we've got Copy setting up over here on the right. Boss is trying to stay alive with all he can do, but Yannick is causing a ton of pressure, going to allow covers to get a ton of zone time. And it looks like we might finally see a game go the way of Ping abusers here, Panda.
It's looking really great for them. They're going to take their first win against Humble, and honestly, it doesn't look like the Ping abusers that we've seen so far. That is going to inspire a lot of confidence in at least the fans for Ping Abusers and even the players as we go into our third and final game of the second set. It is contested. I have to say, I was surprised by how well Ping Abusers did at the early stages of the game. If they can repeat this, that's exactly what the doctor ordered.
100%. I think so much of that is just getting Semantic out of the way at the beginning of the game. If Semantic's able to kind of control what their attention is focused on in their spawn, then it's going to be a lot easier of a game. But now we see Yannick kind of doing that same thing on the side of Ping Abusers, which is definitely doing a lot of work. Semantic does still get a kill on the Stu down there, though. So we're going to have two players kind of set up in aggro positions, one for each team. And we're going to see which team's able to break out of their own base first, pretty much.
Ooh, nice kill from Yannick onto Lukey, and now Cover's trying to get the kill on Boss. He should be able to find it. Oh, he misses the shot, whiffs it, has a speed zone up, has to be careful about not dying to Semantic because that's a very important kill to get. He gets it, and that is going to ensure that Ping Abusers can get back in this game. They are down in terms of the control of the mid by about 15%, but slowly shrinking.
Yep, they should be able to at least come close to tying it back up here. Yannick does go down on the Carl. Looks like Humble's going to be all pushing up into the mid right here, and Covers is just doing whatever he can to wiggle out of these shots. Not going to work for much longer. So we see all three members of Humble sitting on the zone right now. Yannick is doing what he can about it, as well as Copy coming back into the move here. But Lukey's going to be able to get out of there with barely any HP. And we do see the Porters in play now, but either way, so is the Bow Hypercharge. Looks like it might be a little bit hard for Ping Abusers to get back on that zone right now. We do have a Carl Hypercharge online, though. Something to look out for, Panda.
Indeed, it is a small lead for Humble here by about 9%. Hypercharge being popped by Semantic. He should be able to get the kill on Yannick. Gets taken out himself. That's a great trade actually for Humble instead, as Boss is going to go up against Covers in this mid fight here. Copy is going to be helping out Covers a little bit. Can they get the kill on a Boss? It seems likely. No, actually Copy goes down. They are able to get rid of all the mines. Hypercharge being popped by Covers, but it's a bit too late as Humble are going to be taking that dub and get their second set.
Yep, once again, the Stu play does come through at the right time, but he's able to keep himself alive, but not able to get the kills when they needed it. If they were able to clean up there, it would have been interesting to see if they could have got that last 25% before Humble was able to make another dive. But either way, well played by Humble to fight through the first punch thrown by Ping Abusers and be able to wrap up that set and take that 2-0 lead right here.
That was definitely a fire set because we did see some signs of life from Ping Abusers, and they aren't relenting. They're trying because oftentimes you see teams which lose the first set just completely retreat into a shell of sorts like a hermit crab. So it's good to see that they are fighting, and against the world champions it's definitely a hard task to do, but they're here to show us that they still have what it takes. We're gonna go into last stop, and hopefully it's not the last stop for Ping Abusers.
Hopefully not. This is going to be an interesting one. Gem Grab is definitely one of the more technical game modes, which you would expect to give Humble a little bit more of that advantage right there. But you never know what type of comps that Ping Abusers might be able to pull out. Hopefully they'll be able to give us one last fight here, and we'll be able to see that pit stop madness in set number 4.
Yeah, and one thing that I've noticed as a player, and also from various tournaments, is that when there is a very demonstrably big canyon in terms of skill and even in terms of draft, what really helps is coming out with unorthodox compositions which really favor your style of play, and that kind of throws a wrench in the works for teams which are more used to conventional competitive, so to speak. So maybe if they go for something different, it might just bring a little bit of zest, might give them the sauce to actually get a set win against Humble. That's going to be hard, but anything's possible in competitive.
I think that's a chance that they're going to have to take here. Clearly, they are looking a little bit outmatched in the games that we've seen so far, so definitely wouldn't be surprised to see something a little bit out of pocket right here coming out from Ping Abusers. Either way, though, going into last stop, we're going to be seeing Humble banning out the Jean, Lumi, and Janet. Ping Abusers going to be banning Chester, Max, and Melody, so lots of good bans on the field. Once again, not surprised to see Lumi out of the picture. I would expect Ping Abusers as the first pick since Humble did end up banning that Lumi, but we'll see what they pick up here.
A lot of these picks make a lot of sense because these are the usual offenders when it comes to a map like Last Stop. In the previous meta, we did see Hank coming out a lot here on this map because it's quite open, but hopefully we don't see as many Hank shenanigans. Carl is a brawler that we tend to see quite often actually on this map, being picked up very early on. Carl is just so great for ensuring that the opposing mid doesn't really get too comfortable in their mid position, especially with the heat ejector that you bring to the table. Stu is another brawler that we see for a similar role that you satisfy for Ring of Fire. And Otis coming out first for Humble is quite interesting here, Duncan. I don't expect Otis that often.
No, myself either. That was quite surprising to me, especially since I was going to note that B and Poco both did not get banned. Both definite mid options in this map, especially the B. I would be quite surprised if the ping abusers do not pick up B right here. Has a fine matchup into Otis, and is just probably the most dominant mid in the game right now. So I would expect to see a B, perhaps a Poco as well. With that gadget, I do believe it does counter the Otis stun effects too. So another reason that I'm a little bit even additionally surprised to see the Otis coming out with the first pick. Gotta be intrigued by what Humble's cooking here. Maybe they're expecting a little bit more of the out-of-pocket tank picks coming in from ping abusers, kind of like we were referring to earlier.
And I mean, yeah, it does shut down tanks. You get the stuns as well with the hypercharge. That can make sense, but I'm just going solely based off of the pick rate in EMEA, and like I do see Otis being coming out a few times, but for it to be an early pick is something that I don't really expect. And wow, we have the rest of the picks populated. That was really fast. Yeah, we have Stu, we have Nani, we have the Buster as well from Ping Abusers. I like the composition. On Humble, we have Piper and Otis. Not sure what the last pick here is, though.
So I presume that the Stu was the first pick then, and they went Otis into Stu, Otis Piper into Stu, which does make a little bit more sense. Otis is a pretty solid matchup into Stu. Not surprised to see the Nani coming in basically as an answer for that Piper, and then Buster as one of the most versatile tanks in the game with that shield ability, being able to block so much. And it looks like Humble is going to be wrapping up the draft with a little bit more of a range tank counter being the Pearl right there. So overall, pretty good drafts from both teams. I am excited to see this Nani versus Piper matchup. If the Nani's able to hard carry that, then it definitely could be open up a lot of opportunities for ping abusers to maybe walk away with this one.
Yeah, and the cheesy pick with Pearl is really good because you can get those gadgets in and completely wreck the opposition. So something to think about here. Ping abusers might be caught off guard if they're not careful, but on the other side, you do have a Buster, which is invariably one of the most important brawlers in the meta. We're going into our third set here between Humble and Ping Abusers on this map here, and an early start with covers going down. Humble actually have mid control once more.
Yep, and it looks like the Otis pick is probably just going to be here to try to shut down Yannick on the Buster right here, which he's doing a fantastic job of so far. He's going to be able to hit that pull gadget, but it's countered out by Semantic Stun. And so far, we are seeing Humble with a pretty significant gem lead. Luki's got to get out of there before he dies. Gets a little bit greedy with that, and now the Nani head's going to be coming in. Great juke so far. He's going to have to settle for hitting Semantic. But so far, not the best utility coming out from Ping Abusers, and it looks like they are a little bit bullied out of the mid, with Boss getting a crazy double kill over there with the Pearl. Fantastic Pearl plays coming in from him, and it looks like Luki's going to be walking away with 7 gems. Not going to get too greedy.
He was a bit cheeky there. He wanted to get the 8th. He was quite hungry for it, but covers was a huge detractor from that. He gets taken out, though, by Boss, and Hypercharge being popped by Luki. He's going to be capped it off with a kill on a Cappy. Nope, that's not going to be the case, but countdown starting for Humble, and they haven't been pressured once whatsoever.
Nope, not at all. Semantic is putting on a masterclass with that Otis versus Buster lane. I would have to imagine that they have to do a little bit of a lane switch there, because Buster was just not able to get any type of action onto Semantic's Otis. And that was just a game number 1 absolute masterclass from Humble. Absolute dominance from our favorites here. And they're going to be sending him to match point, looking like they might get swept.
Yeah, and I have to mention, it's unfortunate that Yannick was having some issues with the internet. It is quite ironic that Ping Abusers are the ones who can't abuse Ping in this situation, which you got to feel for them.
Yeah, definitely don't need any more obstacles than they've already got facing against our previous world champions here. But they do switch the lanes up here as expected. Yannick is going to be taking the Pearl lane, and he's going to be able to capitalize with the kill there. It looks like covers is going to go down to Luki's snipes though, so definitely some interesting stuff here. Piper's moving up a little bit aggressive here. Luki is going to have some absolutely amazing wiggles right there. Crazy stuff from him, and he kills the Nani. So this is looking like another very clean start to the game from Humble. Maybe not quite as clean as before with the lane switch, but definitely looking like it's in Humble's favor.
Yeah, Luki gets a little bit of value from that super. It also breaks open the walls, makes it easier for him to snipe that left lane here. And Boss is also able to keep covers at bay. There is a trade for Yannick on the Semantic, and I think that Humble are readily going to take that trade repeatedly. Nice taps coming from Luki, keeping covers though. He gets another tap, and Luki is on fire with that hypercharge.
Luki is carrying quite hard with the Piper in this game. He is going absolutely crazy in the mid. And even though Nani does counter Piper, it seems like Luki is just coming out on top of this matchup time and time again. Just maybe a little bit of a skill diff there from Luki, absolute goat on the Piper, but it looks like they're going to be walking away from this quite easily and securing the 3-0 sweep of Ping Abusers. Unfortunately, they were not able to give us the Cinderella Dark Horse story that we maybe were looking for today, but that is going to be a clean start to league play for Humble with an absolutely dominant W.
Yeah, well played by Humble. I have to mention, they were so dominant with the way they were playing against Ping Abusers. 3-0 in a clean sweep, and congratulations to them. They're going to be moving up to join their colleagues inner circle at the top of the leaderboards. Ping Abuser is going to be joining Eclipse, our esport. I mean, you know, you always want to join Eclipse, our esport, right? But maybe not like this here for Ping Abusers. And I have to mention though, connection issues notwithstanding, Ping Abusers, when they were able to play, did play quite well. They were able to get one game off against Humble in Ring of Fire, and that was a dominant game, I have to mention. So they have the sauce. It's just that, you know, maybe they don't have all the ingredients that they need.
That's fair, that's fair. It seems like they have been relying pretty heavily on Stu in these drafts, and that seems to have kind of bit them in the butt a little bit. So maybe they've got to bring out some different comps, maybe not relying around the Stu as much. It seems like Humble had an answer for it every single time, whether it's the Otis or just another pick. It seems like Humble is definitely more on top of the draft, but when we did see an even draft, it definitely was a little bit more of a competitive game, which we obviously love to see.
Yeah, beautiful stuff coming in from both the teams, actually showing and showcasing to us how good they are and the reason as to why they are in the own Masters Valencia as the top 8 teams right now. We will be going into the next fixture, which is going to be Reply Totem versus Reverso Gaming. But before that, we're going to take a short break of about 3 minutes just to get refreshed and to allow the teams time to actually get into the lobbies. So any last words before we go, Duncan?
I don't really have anything as of right now. We've seen 2 games coming down. The first one a little bit better than the second one, but I have high expectations for our third match here with Reverso and Reply Totem. Obviously, Reverso is probably going to be seen as a little bit of an underdog, but they have been putting up a fantastic fight against some of the best teams in the region. So I expect this, especially against a Totem team that maybe has regressed a little bit from years past. I think that we could have a great game on our matchups.
And we'll see you guys after 3 minutes after this break. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Own Masters Valencia, Mastery number 1 of the league phase. I am your host, Pentacast, joined by the amazing Duncan Brawl Stars. Make sure you follow him on Twitch and on YouTube. He makes daily content. He streams, I think, twice a week or once a week. But regardless, he does daily content, and it's kind of crazy how many people he's able to pull. He does a lot of Power League stuff and ladder, I believe, as well. So make sure you catch him on all of his live streams. Really great guy.
Thank you so much, Panda. I'm very happy to be back doing this again, man. We're going into our match number 3 with Reply Totem and Reverso Gaming, 2 teams with a ton of potential that maybe haven't even come through into their full form yet. Obviously, a lot of people know about Totem from years past, but currently they are sitting in 9th place in the BSC, so a little bit out of the playoff picture right now. So it's kind of now or never for them if they're going to be able to turn this season around and kind of be the Reply Totem that we know and love.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen them in 2021. They came into their own after qualifying for World Finals. I believe they even beat Stamina at the World Finals when the EU versus NA matchup. So that's when people really started to notice Mori and Maru. And at that point in time, they had Soy de Breza. But there are some changes to the Totem roster over the years. Now we have... Angel Boy coming in place of IKOS, who went to Team Heretics in terms of all the movements and all that. So they haven't had the best year. Let's be honest. They haven't had the best year in terms of competitive, but slowly, especially in the last few weeks, we've seen them starting to really, outdo a lot of people's learned expectations of them from this year. They managed to get rid of their Kryptonite Eclipsar in the previous tournament, where it was quite an important tournament for them to participate in, and now they've qualified for the monthly finals as well. So this is pretty good, but their path to monthly finals was fraught with danger. They narrowly won against Experian. It was a 3-2, and then they took the L against SK Gaming, the upper bracket, which would have really affected their mentality going into the lower bracket of the monthly qualifiers. Luckily, they had no real issues in the lower bracket and were able to get to the monthly finals, but Reverso had a plethora of issues in the qualifiers. They lost to Papara Supermassive in the upper bracket, and in the lower bracket, they got massively upset by Inner Circle Esports, who we saw earlier on today, only to get swept by a random pickup team. So they didn't even make it to the last round of the lower bracket. So that loss is definitely going to be weighing heavily on them. And Totem, I think we kind of see them in the prime form right now, so that's kind of great. But I would not want to be in Reverso's shoes right now with the recent losses and going up against the Totem, which seems to be, on the up and up right now. I also made a mistake.
Yep, we got 2 teams. We got 2 teams with a ton to prove right here, but we are going into game number 1. It looks like we're gonna have dueling beetles here with the Carl, Ollie, Meeple, Lumi, Lou, and the Bee all banned out. So it makes a lot of sense to see a lot of these brawlers getting banned out. A little bit surprised to see Reply Totem banning some of these better options, considering they do have the first pick, but we are once again going to see a Stu coming out with the first pick. Again, in Hot Zone, that speed turret is just so oppressive. You get your teammates so much extra of a buff with that speed turret, so not super shocked to see a Stu coming down there, but you've got to wonder if it's going to be enough damage for what Reverso might be able to go with the 2-3 here.
Yeah, the Stu is something to be worried about, obviously, but with the Lou being banned out along with Carl, I think that Stu still has some legs. A lot of the annoying brawlers like Meeple have also been removed from the situation here, but Chester is available, as is the Bull as well. The Bee has been the most picked brawler overwhelmingly, but Chester's going to be coming out with Poco. Poco still one of the better healers despite the recent nerf to his gadget reload, and with Chester being I think that this nucleus of the composition that we have with Reverso has its methodology steeped in the fundamentals, at least.
100%. I'm a little bit surprised to see the Poco coming out, considering that Lou, Ollie, and B, some of the brawlers that his cheese gadget counters the most are going to be out of the picture already. But either way, you can still rock Poco with any either star power, either gadget. One of the most versatile brawler builds in that manner. So definitely expecting to see a little bit more of a healing oriented Poco rather than an ability nullifying gadget Poco coming into play here. But they're gonna have a lot of HP to deal with, and once again, like I said with that Stu first pick, he does lack in that damage, so it might be a little bit tricky for him to be able to take down this comp, especially if they throw in a tank with that last pick.
Indeed. I think that maybe our draft is lagging a little bit. I think that we should probably have the other picks coming out soon. Ollie has been removed here, so we won't see the Ollie coming out. Buster is there, and it is going to be picked up along with the Barley. I like the Buster pick. I like the Barley pick. I am surprised as to why the Chester is not shown on screen. So we are having some teething issues with production. It is match day number 1, so bear with us as we fix all of these issues.
I assume the Chester is still going to be in the part of that comp, which makes a ton of sense. And they're going to be grabbing a Mortis with the final pick, which is a little surprising to see. But overall, I think it makes a ton of sense. He's one of the few like assassins that's very good into Buster. And obviously the Barley is going to be somewhat of a free matchup. Stu might be a little bit trickier as he's going to be dashing away from you as you're trying to dash onto him. But going back to Totem's draft, I think that if you are going to go with Thrower here, Barley is probably the one, considering he does have some of the best damage as far, some of the best and most consistent damage, I suppose, as far as the throwers go. But I'm going to be very curious to see how Mortis is going to be able to fare in this matchup right here. I think that he could either hard carry the game and kind of give Reverso a free win here, or it could be a little bit of a struggle. So we'll have to see who's on that Mortis and how well he's able to be doing.
We go into a first set between Reply Totem and Reverso. Ness gets taken out almost immediately by Maru. It is a little bit of a stalemate here, but with that kill onto Ness, it's going to allow Totem to a little bit more license to stay on the mid for a bit longer. But they have to be careful that they don't feed Day, the Chester, their hypercharge too early, as Maru is going to go up onto the point here, and there is a montage that comes out. Andy very low, but has to use a self-heal. They're going to be taken out by Angel Boy nonetheless, and Angel Boy gets taken out, but does put Nez into a fire situation.
Yep, and we've already seen the Mortis go in 2 times. We've already seen Nez go in 2 times. That's his 3rd death right there. And if my math is correct, I think he's only got like 3 or 4 hits off. So 3 deaths without any bats to speak for yourself is a little bit unfortunate as far as Nez's Mortis is going here. But he's going to be trying to get that cycle going now. It's going to be countered out by Maru, though. He is playing a fantastic Buster into the Mortis. Not the easiest matchup in the world, and Maru's making it look like it is. So well played to Maru right there. He's going to be popping up his shield right here. And it looks like they are going to be maintaining about a 30% lead as Angel Boy goes in with that hypercharge.
Yeah, he goes in onto Andy. Should be able to get the kill with that fire. Nope, Andy still manages to stay alive with the help of his gadget hypercharge being popped by Day. Gets it onto Maru, but Maru is able to get a kill nonetheless on the other side. Unfortunate for Reverso. It is still very close here. And in terms of control, Reverso have it going on as Angel Boy gets kill on Amori, but gets taken out by Nez here. Or rather, takes Nez.
Absolutely huge kill right there, and they're going to have to make their move right now, but DA is trying to stop them, but it looks like Maru's going to be running up with that hypercharge. Nez is getting some fantastic hypercharge value out there, and he is going to clean up the entire map. That is going to be game number 1 going to Reverso. After a very, very rough start on Nez's Mortis, he is going to absolutely carry at the end and clean up the zone and give them that first game win. That was insane stuff from the Mortis.
I was a bit, confused about the Mortis at the start. It wasn't doing that great. He wasn't getting enough value with his dashes, with his super. Each of the possessions weren't really doing them any favors, but he managed to push back Totem away from the mid, and once the hypercharge came in, he was able to lock absolutely in. Now he's able to get 3 shots off against Angel Boy, which is huge actually in terms of what Mortis needs to do as we go into our second game of this first set.
Yep, much better set. And I also got to give it up to Mari. He is playing fantastically on this Chester lane right here. Dia has not really been able to get any action going in, but we're seeing Nez dive in again. I have to assume he's pretty close to his bats, if not already in possession of them. So we're going to see Reverso trying to take a little bit more of an aggressive positioning here with Dia's Chester. And now we're going to see Totem try to come back into the mid here. But the Mortis is back, and I have to assume he's very, very close to his bats, getting that shield from the Poco hypercharge as well. It's going to be a scary sight here as Reverso's lead keeps extending.
Ooh, he's able to get 1 set of bats off, not able to get the second one. Angel Boy popping his hypercharge, goes in for the kill on Andy, does find it. Nonetheless, Day is going to be alive here, trying to find Angel Boy off on the mid. And now Nez goes in, surely finds Angel Boy. No, he gets taken out himself. And there's the last call on the left-hand side to push out the Chester from getting into the mix of things for Reply Totem. It is a 10% deficit.
Super cleanly played from Angel Boy on the Stu right there. Fantastic stuff. And if he would have died there, then I have a hard time believing that this game would be as close as it is right now. But because of those great plays, they're able to bring it back to lead pretty close. And they're going to be moving behind this Buster shield to try to get back onto the point right here. It looks like Poco does have a hypercharge super though, so we might see that pop soon, but probably not with Nez going down that quickly. And we're going to see Totem take their first lead of this game.
Amazing stuff from Totem, and now Hypercharge being popped by Mori here to be able to get even more value. Day goes down. That's going to be huge for Reply Totem as the lead steadily keeps increasing for them. Nez trying to make something happen, has a super, but doesn't have the HP to really commit. Goes in, able to cycle one back, gets the Hypercharge. Not enough. It's a bit too late, and Reply Totem are able to respond in kind.
Yep, the Mortis definitely needed to get the Hypercharge a little bit quicker to be able to have the impact that he had in game number 1 right there. But we'll see how it goes in this next round. I do see a lot of emphasis being placed on the Mortis here, with Reply Totem trying to juke out of some of those Mortis dashes, not feed him as much as possible. And then obviously Nez just trying to get as close to that Hypercharge as quickly as possible. So we're going to see what type of strategy he goes for here. But off rip, we're going to see that Barley gadget healing, and Mario's going to be able to get a kill with his pull right there. So expecting Totem to get a good amount of zone time from this interaction right here.
Great start for Totem. Now they're going to just be inching on in terms of the lead here. Nez has to get something going. He needs to get a super. He needs to pop off like he did in game number 1. He's going to get so much of value. Finds one set of bats off, and that's going to be great in terms of his Hypercharge. But here, Totem are slowly inching away.
100%. Yeah, the Mortis should definitely be relatively close to a Hypercharge after the amount of super value he got there. Andy has his Poco super ready to go too. In combination with the bats right there, he's going to get so much value, and another heal coming onto the board. So Andy playing a fantastic Poco, supporting his Mortis, and Angel Boy is trying to do anything he can to neutralize that with the Stu Hypercharge. He does eventually get the kill, but we are going to see Mario just coming back in and just kind of using his high amount of HP to sit on the zone for as long as possible. DA doing everything he can, but just having a little bit of a difficult time completely shutting down the tank as his team's tank counting.
Big Hypercharges, a lot of purple buttons being popped by the entirety of Totem. Now they have extended the lead by 50%. Nez has absolutely popped off for his team, but they haven't been able to capitalize on these possessions here, as Mar's going to be pretty low, but finds the kill nonetheless. Pops a Hypercharge. Nez is going to be taken down. He knows it's over. The writing is on the wall as Totem get their second win in the set and take the first set in totality.
Got to give it up to Totem. They played fantastically as a team right there. Obviously, if you do get caught out by yourself, then Nez is going to have free eats as the Mortis right there, but they did a good job grouping up when they needed to, while also avoiding feeding the Mortis more than they needed to. So fantastic work from Totem. Well played as a team right there, and they're going to be able to walk away from that hot zone set. Even though the draft was a little bit out there, I feel like both teams played relatively well for what matchups they had. Just going to be a little bit of a Totem outcomp at the end of the day. I think that Reverso needed a little bit more of an insane Mortis game. No shade to Nez, but I think that they definitely needed a couple of Hypercharges if they were going to be walking away with that set.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Nez played it amazingly in the first and third games, and it just didn't work out in Reverso's favor. I mean, they tried quite valiantly, but I feel like whenever Nez went in, we saw Angel Boy in response going in onto their Poco, and once you don't have that support, you can't really do all that much as a Mortis by yourself if you don't have your supers or your Hypercharges. So honestly, well played by both the teams here, but you know, at the end of the day, it was Reply Totem coming out on top. We're gonna go into our second set here. Totem took number 1. It's gonna be Gem Fort, so very different compared to something like Dueling Beetles, but you're gonna have a lot of walls, you're gonna have a lot of grass as well. And how do you feel about the chances for Reverso coming back in the second set?
I think Gem Fort is one of those very interesting maps. I feel like this is a very team-dependent map in general, because you really have to have great communication with who you're sending on lanes, whether or not you're going to be sending people on lanes, or if you want to try to occupy that mid. And then obviously, if you are kind of on the back foot, choosing that time to go in as a team to try to take back control of the Gem Fort is going to be super important. So I feel like whichever team is going to be able to kind of communicate and synergize with their team better is probably going to be able to make those big plays that really make all the difference on a map like Gem Fort.
Yeah, for sure. And some of the usual offenders that we see in Gem Fort. Oh, our draft is in. So just looking at our bends, we have Amber, Lumi, Chester, Buster, and Meeple being banned out, and Stu is going to be the first pick. So we've seen Stu being picked a lot across all the matches that we've seen so far, and I think we can see why.
Yeah, he seems like he's kind of walking away as our most common first pick brawler in the in the games that we've seen so far today. A little bit surprising, considering, like I said, the B and the Poco are still going to be on the board right here. Also seeing an Amber ban, which hasn't been seen yet today, so a little bit all over the place. And Reply Totem is going to grab themselves a Janet and a Carl. I absolutely love the Janet pick on this map. She is the ultimate gem grab reset brawler, and even if you have 10 gems and you're in your spawn, you are never out of the woods unless that Janet is out of the picture, because her hypercharge is probably the most broken thing in the game as far as resetting and gem grab. So Reverso's gonna have to stay on their toes. They can never get too comfortable as long as they have a brawler like Janet on the field.
Yeah, for sure. And once you pair Janet with the drop the base gadget, you know exactly where all your opposition is going to be on the map. So I feel like in terms of common sense, it's just a great pick all around. Carl also great in terms of lane pressure, because there is no way you can go down a lane on the grass and not face the Carl. So great brawler all around, and cross lane support is also great. You can hug the wall and ensure that the other mid has basically hell to pay just for existing. So I like this composition already from Totem, but it's so early on. I'm not sure how Reverso is going to be responding to it, but I think that they are capable enough, and they go for Ollie along with the Otis. I like this.
I do like that quite a fair bit too. I do fear that Reply Totem has somewhat of a free Poco here though. With the Ollie obviously getting his main ability completely removed by that Poco gadget, I wouldn't be shocked to see a Poco off the field here. And just going back to the first pick too, I am a little surprised that Janet didn't get scooped up with that first pick, because I mean the only weakness that she really has is her lack of damage output, and you could say the same thing for Stu. So a little bit surprised to see that. Definitely going to be a very menacing brawler right there. And I guess we'll see if the Poco comes through. Otherwise, Ollie might be able to have kind of a really good game. They do not have a whole lot of damage, but they are going to be taking a tank counter. So they're going to be hopping on the Surge. Definitely should be a little bit of a menacing pick into the Ollie, and I think he has a decent matchup in the Stu as well. Not as big of a fan as the Surge into the Otis. And we'll see if we see another Otis game that like we saw from Humble, where Otis kind of caught us a little bit off guard and surprised us here, Panda.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with the Surge pick. I know that Angel Boy used to use Surge a lot when he was in Navi back in the day, and which is why he tries to force it in a lot of different compositions. So he's comfortable. It's not out of his wheelhouse, but I'm still a little concerned about how it's going to be isolated. And Maru's going to be playing the Surge instead. Doesn't get his super just yet. Mori's going to be taken out. Very early lead coming in from Reverso, as Angel Boy surely is going to be left by the wayside. And just like that, Reverso Gaming have all of the gems in their pockets.
Fantastically played by Andi to be able to take out that Surge, but Maru does get his level 2 here, so that's going to be a very, very big part of the game for Maru. Obviously, if you're a hard stuck level 1 Surge, you are not going to be having a good time in pretty much any Brawl Stars situation, so good for Totem that he's able to get that level, but obviously they're not going to be sitting on any of the gems right now as Nez picks up his 7th. And I just got to say, Nez and DA are doing a fantastic job holding down this middle part of the map. We see the Fat Splatter go down to keep Mari out even longer, and we're going to have to see a Janet fly here soon, I think, if they're going to be able to try to make a play here.
Ooh, nice gadget by Andi to make sure that Angel Boy Super really doesn't get the value he's looking for. Already, there is a countdown from Reverso. The Stu has all of the gems, so Nez is going to be the #1 brawler that Reply Totem have to go for, but Angel Boy gets taken out, and Andi's going to be playing Protect the President with all the gems. We see jump coming in from Maru. He's going to be taken out as a hypercharge from Nez to get out of the situation. Game #1 going to Reverso quite comfortably, I might add.
Fantastically played by Reverso. I think that the main thing that game was that they did not feed the Janet very much. I mean, we saw that Mari, I believe, on the Janet did not get a super until the very end of the game, was never able to find too much value there. And obviously that is the best part of her kit. So if you're able to keep her off of her super, then she's going to be more or less a non-factor besides those gadgets going down and just being a little bit annoying. But we'll see how the middle interaction goes here. And it looks like it's going to be going in Totem's favor. Last game, I think a major portion of that game was decided by the beginning of with Nez being able to kind of clean up in the middle. But we're going to see the other thing going down now. Mari's going to be on the gems now, and we got a very, very different game on our hands here, Panda.
Indeed, great start coming in from Reply Totem here. They were able to course correct, and that's basically the most important part about esports here. Maru gets taken out by Andi. Very well timed gadget. Andi does have a super though, so they have to be careful. Mori just a bit too afraid, has to take flight there to get out of that situation. And honestly, I don't hold it against him to use that utility when it is required. Angel Boy going in with a super, able to find a kill on a day. That's going to be huge. Maru's going to be there next onto Nez. Nope, he doesn't pop his super just yet. Andi trying to find a kill on an Angel Boy, does do that, and now control on the side of Reverso, which is huge for them.
Absolutely. Fantastically played by Nez to not go down there, but obviously we do still see an 8-2 gem lead sitting on Totem right here. Angel Boy's going to be able to kind of clean up too, and you can just see with Mari getting those supers earlier, it is so impactful. He's got his hypercharge now. He's got to be pretty close to a hypercharge fly. Might not be able to get it before this, but he's not even too worried about that right now. They're trying to get this 10th gem and end this game before it gets to that point even where they would need a reset.
Gotta say, Day has been pressuring Mori so effectively. Almost got the Mori down here. There is a countdown for the side of Totem, but the gems have been split and Mori is not as healthy as he'd like. Andi is going to be going in with a super. That's insane that they need it right now. Mori's going to be low. He gets taken out. There is a reset confirmed for Reverso Gaming.
Yep, Nez is going to be able to do a lot of work here. They obviously still have to get one more kill at least before they can even consider resetting with just the gems in the mine right there. Also, something to note, Andi does not seem to be running the jump gadget. I think he's using the other Ollie gadget. So when he does have his super, he's not going to be able to have quite as much mobility as you typically would on the Ollie. And it looks like that might come back to bite them a little bit as they are not able to close the gap in the end of that game.
And it's going to be tied at 1 apiece in the set here. Reverso, they tried their best, but Reply Totem had such a good reply. I like the fact that Reverso weren't able to get the reset here, but weren't able to capitalize completely as we go into our final game of the second set, and it could go either way. It's a coin toss.
Absolutely. Reverso's got to be treating this game as a must-win. You do not want to be going down 2-0 to start the day. But we're going to see a lot of action in the middle of the map here. It looks like both teams are putting a little bit more emphasis on the gem mine after the winner of the previous 2 games kind of being decided by who won that first mid interaction. We're going to see them getting a great pinch out on Maru as well. So now Nez is going to be sitting quite comfortable in the gems as DA tries to block off some of the lanes here. But we do see Angel Boy causing absolute havoc up on the top right of the map. He has fantastic positioning and does not seem to be giving it up anytime soon.
Indeed, he has a hypercharge as well. Dropped the basic getting put by Mori there just to ensure that he gets a little bit of scoping ability to see where people are. Mars still hasn't got his super yet, but despite the fact that he still hasn't got it, it doesn't seem like Totem is much worse for the wear.
Yeah, this is going very well right now. We see Mori finally getting his supers going. Definitely a big switch up from the first game in Game 2 and Game 3 for Mori on the Janet. Looking like he's hitting a lot more of those shots, and they do kill the gem carrier. So Mari's going to be walking away with 2. They have a 9-gem lead. Mori's going to grab that last one, and now it is Reverso on the back foot. They need to make a play, and they need it now.
Indeed, Andi is going up against Angel Boy, but it gets taken out. Amazing plays by Angel Boy. Day going down as well, and I feel like that is the bell being tolled by Reply Totem as Reverso take the L, allowing Reply Totem go 2 up in terms of the set score.
Yep, fantastic comeback after taking a very, very convincing loss in game number 1. They were able to kind of focus that mid interaction, make sure that the Janet is getting her supers, and even though she did go 0-0, that was still fantastic work to be able to hold down the mid. That drop the base gadget is so obnoxious. I feel bad for anybody who has to play into that, especially on a map like Gem Fort, but it seems like once they got the mid control at all, it was just more or less impossible to take them out.
Yeah, I mean, amazingly well played from the side of Reply Totem, really ensuring that all their utilities were on point. I have to especially mention Angel Boy being such a menace on lane, and I feel like, you know, this is the resurgence of Reply Totem that we expected at the start of the year. So seeing them play so clean is beautiful to watch, and Angel Boy is so effective at shutting down lanes with his Carl. He was able, I remember one play in the first game where he's able to get the heat ejector gadget off onto the mid and then use his super to get the kill on the person on lane and just completely open up the game for his Janet player to go and get those gems in. So amazingly well played, good cognizance of what is going on, and the read of the game was impeccable by Angel Boy.
100%. I feel like their strategy was more or less to keep the Janet and the Surge kind of in the middle to defend the gems there, and then just let Angel Boy do what Angel Boy does. And he did a fantastic job of just causing that havoc, buying enough time for the Janet to pick up those gems. And she really never was under too much of a threat. Like, didn't really even have to use too many of her supers, like, as more of an escape mechanism, and they could kind of do it more to cause pressure. And I think a lot of that was due to Angel Boy kind of holding down his lane the entirety of that game.
Yeah, I have to mention, it wasn't that the other team, Reverso Gaming, weren't playing well. There were so many instances where they was pressuring Mori. We saw Mori get so low so many times just because of how the Otis was playing into him, and I feel like that was bamboozling Mori. But on the other side, we had Angel Boy just picking up the slack. So it's not to mention that Reverso just took it laying down. I have to mention that it was specifically Angel Boy who kind of facilitated that win to happen, because Reverso were still playing out of their mind.
Yeah, no, 100%. Fantastically played from Totem as a team. Like I said, kind of before the game, I feel like the teams that kind of coordinate their strategy better and make sure that they know exactly who wants to be in the gem mine, who needs to be holding down the pressure on the outside. And it seems like Totem just kind of came away on top of that interaction with a little bit of superior strategy and matchups there.
Yeah, we're gonna go into bridge too far, but is it a bit too late for Reverso to come back in this one? I know I'm just being a bit too dramatic, but you know, it's always fun to see how this one goes. Bridge too far though. It's a map where Colt is very meta here. A lot of teams love running Colt here. As we go into our draft, let's look at the bans. They're gonna be Angelo, Lumi, Doug, Piper, Bo, and Juju. The Doug really caught me off guard there.
I can't say I'm any different there. I am quite shocked to see a Doug ban. A little bit curious if that's strategic or if they're more messing around right now with that. Maybe trying to get into Reverso Gaming's heads a little bit, but either way, Lumi and Angela makes perfect sense. Piper, Bo, and Juju, all reasonable bans as well. And we're going to be seeing a Belle go off the board first here. Obviously, this is a map where her traps get a ridiculous amount of value. There's pretty much impossible to avoid once you have them set up on the lane, and obviously there's no limit to the amount of traps that she can have up. So if they are able to hold down positioning for the beginning part of the game, it might be very, very difficult to push back into Reverso's side near the end.
Yeah, and I feel like this Belle really plays well into the Lola in terms of the opposing pick. So I don't expect Reply Totem to really go for the Lola here, but Reverso can pick up the Lola as well, just for a little bit of support on either side here. I kind of like it here, but Reply Totem going to go for the Eve and the Colt. I mentioned Colt is one of the most picked brawlers here, so not surprising to see Colt being picked up.
Not at all. He's definitely the king of dealing damage to that high safe, so not going to be surprised to see him kind of wailing on that safe from a little bit while away. Also, obviously, with the amount of water on this map, it does make sense to see a Eve come down. Most teams would prefer to have an Angelo or a Juju, but obviously with those two water walking brawlers out of the way, Eve is the next best option. And then with that hypercharge, she's just going to be able to be kind of a menace. She does get a little bit countered out by Belle's bounce shots with her pets there, though, so a little bit surprised to see that coming down. I feel like this is more of a pick that they didn't want Reverso to have rather than a pick that they wanted to have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense here, but let's see what is going to be coming out here, because Bo has been banned out, and I feel like Bo is another brawler which you don't really see it at often in a lot of different maps, but on a map like Bridge Too Far, it is quite meta. Melody is going to be coming out along with a Chuck, and in terms of getting to the objective on this map, it's very hard, but Chuck makes it quite simple. But the biggest task here is getting those posts up.
100%, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if Reply Totem ends up taking a Chuck hard counter, like maybe something like Cordelius is probably the first pick that comes to mind. But with the Chuck on the board, you definitely need something that counters him out very hard. They are going to be taking a Colette, which makes even a little bit more sense because she does have that range advantage over Cordelius while still being able to pretty quickly deal with the Chuck. So they've got some menacing hypercharges on the side of Reply Totem. Reverso is definitely going to be going for more of a base race type strategy here with the Melody and Chuck. If you let those two onto your safe for even more than 15 seconds, you might be kind of cooked.
Yeah, I don't know if the Colette really answers the Chuck all that much. I mean, it does, but I think the game plan is for the Colette to go against the Chuck till she gets hypercharged and then hypercharge the safe. I think that's mostly the game plan here, but they have to largely ignore the Chuck, otherwise they're going to be losing out in terms of damage. Their best bet is to shut down the Chuck from setting up as late as possible.
Completely agreed. I think that our player to watch here is going to be the Colt, because if the Colt's able to get onto the safe pretty early before the Melody and the Chuck can get all of their utility set up and get onto the safe and all that, then I think that Reply Totem's going to find themselves in a good spot. So my eyes are going to be on Maru here to see if he's going to be able to cook, and so far it looks like he is. But we got Andi already with his post setup as well, so we've got both teams getting pretty significant damage in right now. Angel Boy is more or less ignoring the Chuck, which is a little bit surprising to see, but overall it looks like he's just trying to get to that hypercharge and stay up on the safe.
Yeah, and Melody's going to be able to get on the safe here. No, doesn't manage to do that. On the other side, though, there is a slight lead for Reply Totem, which I didn't expect, all things considered, as once more the dive from Chuck is going to be there guaranteed. Now, Angel Boy does have the hypercharge, can go for it, gets a kill on a Chuck, is able to get so much of damage on the safe, and Maru is able to cap it off. That's going to be Reply Totem going on a match point here, Duncan.
Yeah, I was going to say well played to Andy for getting his Chuck post set up so quickly. I think that was a very big part of them kind of staying in this game, but I never saw the Melody really get set up onto the safe, whereas Maru on the Colt was able to get a lot of damage there. I think that they played the Colette strategy pretty well, not trying to force the Chuck defense too hard, and just kind of hoping that Angel Boy would be able to get his hypercharge super just by staying up on the safe. Obviously, they're going to have to address him at some point, and that seems like what they're doing this time, except they are completely leaving the Colette lane, not even going to risk trying to give her a super. So we're going to see Reverso full stack in this left side, completely running down Maru's face, but he's probably going to be able to hold this lane down decently well with how skinny it is.
And Andi manages to get up off his post. Now Nez should get the kill onto Maru. That's going to be huge, and a lot of damage rolling in from Reverso. The lead from Reply Totem being cut short very soon and very fast.
Yep, DA is doing a great job getting these bounces going on, makes it so much harder to play defense, and now we're finally going to see Nez on the Melody, on the safe, with a little bit of help from DA as well, but he's getting a ton of damage right down there, and even with the Chuck, like, I don't know, I think that this game is looking pretty over for them, unless they get Maru up onto the safe, or if they get a Colette hypercharge. I think that this one might be going Reverso's way. I don't see a way that they're going to be able to stop this Chuck for the rest of the game, and it looks like I'm correct. That's going to be game going over to Reverso. They're keeping their hopes alive on this day number 1 league play game. So we're going to be going into a final match on Bridge Too Far. Very excited to see how this goes. We've seen the game play out 2 very different ways so far, Panda.
Yeah, it's crazy. I like the fact that Reverso Gaming just completely moved out of the way of the Colette, didn't give her any value whatsoever. It took Angel Boy forever. I don't think he got his hypercharge in that game, but it's still, though, the match point for Reply Totem, so Reverso can't really sit on their laurels in the last one.
It looks like they're going to be trying something a little bit different. Totem was full stack on the left side, kind of expecting Reverso to do the same, but they have switched up their lane assignment. It does let Mori kind of get onto the safe a little bit for free as the Colt. He's going to be getting a good amount of damage so far, but now we're seeing the Chuck post get fully set up, and it looks like the damage is pretty even on both sides. So I'm intrigued to see what Mario's strategy is for the rest of the game. I feel like in game 2, he might have spent a little bit too much time on defense, and it seems like he's trying to correct that now and playing a little bit more of.
Indeed. Ooh, Nez managing to get past Angel Boy. Angel Boy should be able to get the kill here, but no, Andy is there to pick up the slack, and now we see all of the members of Reply Totem having to defend here, as they are going to go back here into the game. But 22% deficit for Totem is going to be hard to make up, especially the fact that Tuck already's got set up.
Yep, there comes the Colette hypercharge in. That's going to even out the damage quite a fair bit more. Eve hypercharge as well. They clean up on defense, and they're going to have the Colette set up there with the unlimited Eve babies coming down. So it might be a little bit menacing for Reverso to get out of this hole, but we are seeing very even score lines on the safe so far. It seems like whichever team gets the next really big push might be able to take this W. Nez is going to be trying to move up right here with that shield, but he is getting so hard focused. They're kind of just ignoring DA's damage on the safe. Oh my goodness, this is an electric finish so far.
Yeah, Angel Boy being taken out is huge for Reverso, as they are able to cap this one off. No, it's actually Reply Totem who get the dub there and are able to get the win. They win 3-0 against Reverso, completely sweeping them. The 3rd debilitating loss for Reverso in 3 days.
That was ridiculous. I can't believe how Maru was able to get all that damage all by himself up there. He saved his hypercharge for the perfect moment. He knew that if they didn't wrap it up right there, it was definitely going to be game over with the Chuck and the Melody coming down. So fantastic game awareness. Heist is definitely a game mode where you have to know when to stay up, know when to go back, and it looks like Totem just had their callouts like dialed in right there, and Maru was able to finish off the safe when it mattered the most. Fantastic 3-0 sweep. Didn't feel as dominant as maybe it was, but well played to Totem. They definitely deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, the scoreline doesn't reflect how competitive the matches were. They were really close and down to the wire. I have to say, Reverso did lose 3-0, but they shouldn't take it too hard because they put up a valiant effort. But I think that the 3 major losses in the last few days are going to be weighing on them heavily. Hopefully, tomorrow in the next match day, they come back roaring once more and showing us that they are still one of the best teams in EMEA. But congratulations to Totem nonetheless. They are going to be happy about how this one turned out as we go into our 4th and final game of the day, which is, I believe, going to be Team Heretics versus SK Gaming, a hotly anticipated match. But before that, we're going to take a short break of about 3 minutes. So Duncan and I will see you after that break. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Own Masters Valencia. It is the league phase, match day number 1, game number 4. I am your host, Pedicast, joined by the amazing Duncan Brawl Stars. Make sure you guys follow him on all his social media handles. He is just... This is his first cast, guys. Can you believe it? He's crazy. He's been killing it today. So congratulations for your performance today, Duncan. I gotta say, I am just floored with it, and I hope to see you in more such casts in the future. But before we go into all of that, we need to talk about the games that we're going to be seeing. But we got to talk about the games that we did see. First up was Inner Circle versus Eclipse, our esport, where Inner Circle took it 3-0. Then we got Humble versus Ping Abusers, where Humble took it 3-0. Correction, Eclipse got one set. And then we had Reply Totem versus Reverso Gaming, which again was a sweep. But most of these sweeps don't really reflect how competitive the games actually were. They went down to the wire, and I felt like it was such a gritty in the mud sort of situation where the teams were definitely in the trenches. We are going to be going into our next match, which is going to be Team Heretics versus SK Gaming. And Team Heretics seems to be in a crisis in the early months of the year, where their performance doesn't match up to the caliber of the individual players in the roster. So that was a little bit disconcerting for them, but I feel like they've had a string of successes in third-party tournaments as of late. They even qualified for the monthly finals, which is going to inspire more confidence in them as players and their fans, obviously. So that is something to think about. But SK Gaming have been consistently successful across a plethora of tournaments, and they also won a monthly finals, the first one in EMEA. So they are definitely a team that you shouldn't sneeze about here, Duncan.
100%. I feel like SK is probably the favorite in the Eastern or the European region. I feel like they have been an absolute powerhouse for quite some time. This year is absolutely no different. But Heretics, these are the type of games that you have to win if you want to have a real chance to win Worlds. So I'm excited to see if a team that is well known and well loved in Team Heretics is able to step up to the plate against an absolute behemoth like SK. But we're going to see them trying with our first game coming down here, Hard Rock Mine. Looks like we're going to have Chester, Lumi, Janet, Stu, Buster, and Melody all banned, with SK picking up a Carl. And then Heretics is going to be grabbing a Max, which makes a lot of sense, and a Cat, which is something you don't see as often with the kit pick right there. So we're going to be seeing a little bit more of a supportive, sneaky type brawler right there. I'm very intrigued by that pick. I'm curious what they're planning with that last pick to kind of make that Cat pick make a little bit more sense, Panda.
One thing about Heretics is that Drage usually, I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but usually in most of the teams that Drage is involved in, he's the guy who does the draft, and a lot of the drafts are kind of experimental, but it works really well in the wheelhouse of what Team Heretics brings to the table. So you wouldn't be surprised to see it synergizing really well, the kit specifically, with the last pick. And SK Gaming are going to try to de-incentivize that pick, and they're going to go with the Gray and the Jackie. And I think that Jackie pick really does kind of address the hit a little bit, but not completely so far.
100%. I am happy to see Gray finally coming into the fold here. Definitely a brawler who's quite strong, who we haven't seen yet in today's game. So happy to see him, as well as Jackie, who has caused a little bit of controversy across the Brawl community with Bobby and Semantic rating her S tier. But a lot of people think very polarizing thoughts about Jackie. Some people think she's great, some not so much. And we're going to be seeing a Bull come in with the last pick, which is a little bit dumbfounding to me. I see why they would go with that into the Jackie and the Gray, and I guess the Carl as well. So definitely not a very meta brawler, but into these specific brawlers that SK has picked, I can see the Bull working out decently well, especially with the support of a Cat. Definitely a crazy draft by Team Heretics, but these are the type of drafts that you have to make to beat an absolute giant like SK. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I think this could be a drafting masterclass, or I could eat my words and we could see a little bit of Juan Carlos action on the kit.
We're gonna go to game number 1 between Team Heretics and SK Gaming. That Juan Carlos comment caught me off guard. And already we have a little bit of a stalemate in the mid here. Drage is gonna be able to pick up the gems, and 2-1 in terms of scoreline. Neither team really engaging or completely investing in going up here, as Lana just given free reign to go up very aggressively. IKEOS jumping onto the Joker, gets the kill. They're able to get onto the back lines, and now Yoshi's going to be addressing one. Chaos goes down, and Lana is doomed to fall, so Yoshi still surviving. OP gets a kill on a Drage, and already this is proving to be a great matchup.
Very aggressive play from iChaos and from Linane on the Bullcat combo right there. Unfortunately, not able to get away with any of the gems. Very close to being able to hit a diabolical lick there, but not going to be able to walk away with that. So we are going to be seeing SK with a lot of the gems, but they also do have 4 sitting on Ope, which is not going to be ideal once we do get to this countdown inevitably, as they would definitely prefer to have it on Joker. But Yoshi's going to be going up, getting a little bit deleted by Linane. Not sure what he was going for there. Ope is going to clean up on the backline, and we do see Drage with this hypercharge super ready to go. Could be going for a big play of the game right here once they get their whole team back.
Indeed, I think Yoshi's just trying to farm his hypercharge. He has a super once more. Cat gonna go going in. Chaos should be able to get the kill there. Drage along with him helping out. Luna with a hypercharge, he gets a kill. Ope is going to be going down. All the gems are now for SK Gaming.
Wow, fantastically played to iChaos on the cat there to be able to get those stuns. Drage popped the hypercharge at the perfect time, and now Linane's just going to be needing to play a little tiny bit of defense. Chaos misses his jump. Ope's going in with the super, but I don't think that Joker's going to be able to have enough to get away with Drage here, and it looks like he's not even going to try it. That's going to be game number 1, surprisingly going into the hands of Team Heretics with some absolutely beautifully coordinated plays with the cat assassination. Drage coming in and cleaning up the gems and getting out of there with the fastest brawler in the game. You got to wonder if that was kind of the game plan the whole time. It was masterfully executed by Heretics though.
I have to say that was beautifully done by Heretics. SK Gaming, I think they have the sauce. They just have to be a bit more concerted with how they're doing this. We're going to go to game number 2, and this is already proving to be an electric game, almost grand finals caliber, as Luna getting the kill on a Yoshi so early on is going to be huge here.
Haven't seen too much good Jackie action from Yoshi yet. It looks like Linan is getting the upper hand on him in all of these 1v1 interactions, but maybe we just haven't seen the hypercharge come through yet. Maybe Jackie's got something up her sleeve for us, but so far it looks like Team Heretics is kind of seeing exactly what they wanted to see right now. They're going to be using that max speed to come up here. Chaos might be looking for a target to jump on, but with all 3 members of SK grouped up right there, not really much Chaos can do except sit back and wait.
Drage with the wiggles, he's making sure that Joker doesn't hit those shots, doesn't get the super as well. Yoshi with a nice suck there. Ope gonna go in, finish off, able to get all the kills, all the gems once again, and this time it's though SK Gaming on top.
Shocked that Ope was able to get away with all of those gems and not even take a death right there. So Heretics is going to be on the back foot. No supers after that Drage use of the speed right there. And Yoshi does have his hypercharge ready to go as well as the Carl. So a lot of utility on the side of SK, a lot of gems on the side of SK. Heretics is going to have to make their move pretty soon. But here they go with the Linan hypercharge and the Chaos on his back. But I mean, Drage might go down here. Do they trade out? Joker's going to teleport onto the gems to try to secure them, but they get the kill on him as well. Yoshi is trying to do all he can to defend these gems. Ope is going to pick up 10, and Chaos is left all by his lonesome up there. It seems like it is SK's game to lose at this point, unless Heretics can do something absolutely ridiculous.
And absolutely ridiculous is something that is on the cards here. Drage going in with the hypercharge. He gets Luna sped up, but it's a bit too late. 2 seconds left, and nobody close enough to get the reset as game number 2 goes by way of SK Gaming. We are tied at 1 apiece in this electric game.
Absolutely. Very happy that we are able to see probably our best game of the day with Heretics and SK, and it is living up to expectations right now. Crazy 2 games of gem grab so far. Both games have gone so differently. Fantastic plays from members of both teams so far. Chaos had some crazy plays in game number 1. And then Ope on the Carl had some crazy plays in game number 2. I'm excited to see who shines in game number 3. I feel like it could be anyone's game. Should be a lot of gem transfers as we've seen so far.
iChaos going in. He gets a kill onto Drage. He's going to be taken out himself. Ope gets a kill on a Chaos as a result. And just like that, we have Yoshi in the back lines here. It's a really good spot in terms of positioning for the side of SK Gaming, as now Team Heretics are forced to really be in the defensive line, and Luna just completely destroying Yoshi, putting him 6 feet under. That's crazy.
That is going to be his role. When the Jackie gets up there, Linan is going to have to be the one to do something about it. Not much that Drage or Chaos can do is in the damage department there. The cat's going to go up and jump there. Ope is going to be able to survive. He has survived so many of these interactions on such low HP. You got to wonder if it's calculated or if he's getting a little lucky. Maybe a mix of both, but Ope is absolutely cooking on this Carl pick so far. And we're going to see Heretics, they have a pretty even gem count right now, likely waiting for iChaos to get that jump or for Linane to get that super. He does have a hypercharge online, so could do a ton of work right there.
Neither team really forcing their hands, keeping their cards close to their vest. They don't want to really overcommit here. There was a magic cane used by Joker. He's not able to capitalize. Nice pull coming from Yoshi. Luna is very, very low, is going to be scared. And a huge hypercharge being used by Ope, but a nice stun coming in from the cat. iChaos goes down, but so does Ope on the other side. It is a little bit of a reset, but control very much on the side of SK Gaming, as now Team Heretics need to struggle back into the mid.
Very much, and they're gonna have a hard time going through the middle with Yoshi sitting there with the Jackie Hypercharge. He goes in now. Drage is going to have to dash out. Yoshi is going to get that stun off, and now Lanan's going 2v1 up there. He gets the Carl. He has another super, and he might be able to press Joker out of these gems if he gets lucky. He does get the kill. Joker steps up way too close, and Lanan is going to dash out with that. And we see a countdown on the side of Heretics right now. If they aren't able to kill Lanan or Drage, this is going to be our first set going in the hands of Heretics. It's all in Yoshi's hands now.
Yeah, the only way forward is to get the gems for split. Ooh. They are able to get one. Joker is able to get out with the gems, and it's going to be actually a countdown for SK Gaming. And now Team Heretics have to move on to the point, get 1 or 2 more gems to really even this out. And SK can't really go back all the way to their spawn because of the fact that the gems can still spawn here.
Yep, it looks like they might be backing off a bit too early. Not sure if they think they have to get this kill, but they're going to get the reset anyway. Lanan is going up there, and there are a ton of gems sitting on SK. Lanan is going to have a tricky time getting out of here. He's not even going to try, and it looks like they might not have had enough time to reset the normal way, so they did have to force that. Definitely a little bit unfortunate with the timing there, but SK is going to take advantage. 24 gems to 0 right now. Nothing Lanan can do about it, and that is a very well-composed finish from SK. Never panicked. They knew exactly how many gems they had, how many gems they needed, and just overall an absolutely absurd set. Crazy to see SK walk away with that. It looks like Heretics might have had it in the bag, but some good plays from Joker on the Gray. We're able to steal a lot of those gems out. We're going to be seeing them take game number 1.
That was that first set. I have to say, it was a display on fire. It was just crazy to see how they were able to completely go back and forth. Both the teams played perfectly. Not perfectly, but electrically, I would say. I don't know who was going to come out on top till the very end, but you know, SK Gaming just held true to their guns, and I felt like the composition coming in from the side of Heretics was a little bit experimental, but I think they executed it to the level which I didn't expect them to execute at, and I think that gives me a little bit more confidence going into the next few games, because Heretics are, I feel, fundamentally a team which is hard to predict. They're so explosive.
100%. You could tell that they were pulling out a little bit more of an experimental draft there and almost got away with it. Maybe the more meta comp just came out on top at the end of the day, but I feel like that definitely could have gone into Heretics' hands. Had a couple of micro interactions worked out a little bit differently, especially with Ope surviving so low so many times. But overall, I did not expect too much from the Bull, except for that Lanan is just an absolutely goated tank player. So he proved us right there to trust in him. He dealt with the Jackie quite effectively, but unfortunately just not enough to be able to get away with the win at the end of the day. But I am super fired up to see what set number 2 is going to have in store for us. That was absolutely electric, Panda.
I mean, I'm still reeling from what we saw. It was crazy. I think that it was probably the best set I've seen in a long time in terms of gameplay. We're gonna go to set number 2. It's gonna be Safe Zone, and based off of the first set, it's gonna be anything but safe because it's gonna be crazy. We're gonna have a lot of brawlers that can dive on the safe. One of them, which is Daryl. Daryl is a really good brawler for diving on the safe. Melody as well. You also have your Juju's along with the Colette as well, the Bell to keep up the mid, as well as the Angelo 2 to keep a bit off the control. Carl is another raid brawler, and I have seen Crow coming out here, especially because it takes a long time for the Crow to get your hypercharge, but once you do get it, you're able to completely decimate the safe. We're going to be going into our draft here, Duncan, between Team Heretics and SK Gaming on Safe Zone, and our bans are shaping up to be...
Yeah, looks like we got the Bell, Angelo, Lumi being banned out by Heretics, with Bo, Carl, and Chuck joining the ban list on SK's side. Not surprised at all to see the Chuck out of the way. Very cheesy brawler. And it looks like they already had their base race brawler in mind with the Melody first pick, so it makes sense to see that coming in. We're going to see Heretics taking an Amber and an Eve there. Amber is an interesting pick on this map because she's mostly a control brawler, but if you ever do get onto that safe with the spinny gadget, you can do so much damage to the safe in such a short amount of time. So kind of like a little bit of a Melody hybrid in that kind of way, but they're going to be grabbing the Eve for a little bit more mid control. And overall, it seems like Heretics is more content playing the slow game compared to SK, who is maybe trying to get that Melody onto the safe, but they add a B and a Juju to that. So it looks like we might be seeing a little bit of a slower heist game than we are maybe used to seeing in this, Panda.
Yeah, I think that the only real fast version of the game would be the Melody pick here, and I think in this scenario, Melody can only really go in when there's a red carpet out for her or she has a hypercharge along with a gadget. But Team Heretics have this last pick here, and right now they might be reeling from the Juju pick, but I feel like they've addressed the Melody sufficiently so, and they go for the Piper. And while I do like the Piper pick, I feel like if you miss a shot, you're going to be penalized quite hard because you don't have the best reload speed here as a Piper.
Yeah, I definitely do like the Piper on safe zone. It's definitely nice to have that wall break to break your kind of own side of the wall in the middle of the map there, because that is a very great place for a Juju or a Melody to kind of stand behind and wait for their moment to shine. So if you do get that Piper wall break, it could be very helpful. I'm a little bit surprised that like maybe Colt or Brock weren't in play if they were going to be going with a ranged brawler, but maybe they're more confident in their ability to hit Piper shots onto a faster brawler like Melody than they would be with a Colt or a Brock that maybe has a little bit better safe damage.
We're going to go into set number 2 between Team Heretics and SK Gaming. The first one promised to be a great one, and hopefully the rest of them as well. Right now, in terms of control, it is going to be with Team SK Gaming. They have a slight lead of 6%, and apologies, the perspective is shifted. It is swapped, and we see SK in blue.
Yep, and it looks like so far, as expected, they are playing a lot more of a control game. Piper is able to get that initial wall break off, so exactly what I was talking about there. Lanon's going to have a much easier rest of the game, trying to get Joker out of their spawn, trying to get Yoshi out of their spawn. But Yoshi makes an amazing invisibility play with that gadget. He gets the Gree out, but overall, not a whole lot of safe damage is going to be coming down to reflect that good play there. It seems like the only damage that we've really seen so far is from OP getting those 5Ks onto the safe, which obviously is nice, but probably not going to be enough to win the game when it's all said and done. I'm waiting for one team to get a kill or two here to be able to kind of move up the map and get a significant amount of damage here.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. OP going down allows SK the license to move up in the mid. The wall break's going to be there as well, so they can't hide behind that. And I feel like right now, with all the walls being broken, it favors SK quite heavily, despite the fact that B is on the other side.
100%. I mean, in a pure snipe off, Lanon on the Piper definitely should have the advantage over OP on the B, so I definitely see the logic there from Lanon. I'm even wondering if he might go up and break that wall on the left too, so that Yoshi has a little bit of a harder time for the rest of the game, but they seem content right now. Yoshi's just trying to use his invisibility to make as many plays as possible, but there are increasingly fewer walls for him to really be able to do a whole lot of anything, and it looks like, at least as far as kills go, Heretics is been on the upper hand of most of these interactions so far.
And hypercharge being popped by Drage. Joker trying to go up. You're not able to get much value, but I feel like Drage's hatchlings are certainly going to get a lot more value here. But actually, Juju does address it nonetheless. And now we see SK Gaming. Surprisingly, Yoshi not going for the damage. I would have gone for safe damage instead. Yeah. There is going to be a 1% difference here favoring Team SK Gaming, but Team Heretics are still here. They are back, a slight bit of a lead here for them, and I feel like it's a now or never for Joker to move up on the point here.
Yep, Joker is going to be trying to make a play here. He's out of dashes as of the right moment, and Linane is coming up with hypercharge. If he's able to get a single kill here, it might be over, but he's not. Yoshi is going to be getting that Gree onto the safe, and it looks like this is going to go the way of SK Gaming. Just a little bit too much damage at the right moment at the very end of the game. SK is going to come out on top of that after a very, very even first part of the first 2 minutes of gameplay right there. A little bit surprised to see Heretics drop off at the end, especially considering Piper got all the wall breaks she wanted.
Yeah, in that pressure situation, you need to have ice in your veins, and they just started falling one by one like flies, and I feel like that was the wrong time. You can't afford to die in the last 15 seconds of the game. We're going to go into game number 2 here, and SK need to pull up their socks here.
100%. I'm very intrigued to see how this game goes now. It looks like we got Team Heretics and Blue down here. I feel like Joker did not really end up getting onto the safe with the Melody, but even just the pressure that he causes with when he has those dashes in pocket was enough to be able to get his teammates, especially the Juju, up onto the safe. But that was very interesting to see, and I'm very curious if Joker's going to have an opportunity to get onto the safe this time. But so far, not so much. Heretics is holding down their position. Drage has his pets out here, and they're just going to be trying to deal with Joker, as Linane is going to switch up his wall break strategy to try to deal with Yoshi, who is in a fantastic position as of right now.
Ooh, the hatchlings are going to address Joker. Yoshi going down. Now there's a free line of sight for Team Heretics to get some more damage on the objective. They are able to do so. Lana gets taken out, and they are able to get the response that they need onto Joker. So there is no counter offensive for SK Gaming, as Team Heretics are now going from strength to strength.
Yep, when we see Chaos come on top of the spinny interaction with the Amber spinnies taking down the Melody spinnies. So interesting stuff to see there. Lanon does get his wall break in. So now him and Drage are going to have more or less open reign, and as long as they don't get tapped up by the B5Ks, they should be relatively chilling for the rest of this game. Yoshi's moving up with his invisibility. He's going to throw his super down, but he's going to be a little bit too weak there. That super is more or less going to be for Joker to try to get his super. And the Amber is just doing a fantastic job by Chaos on the left side of just kind of keeping that positioning, not ever letting all three of them get through the middle. And we see Drage come down with more hatchlings, doing absolutely so much work, causing pressure, pushing SK back right now.
with 52 seconds on the clock, it's now or never for SK Gaming. They have the hypercharge from the B. B is going to get a lot of shots off on the safe here, and so does the Melody.
Joker.
They are going to be able to get within striking distance of Team Heretics, and they finally do get the lead of 5%. They have control as well, but with 40 seconds left, it's still possible for Heretics to get back in this one.
100%, but Yoshi is in an absolute power position.
Ooh.
I think that they might just have to ignore him, and that's what they're going to do. They take out OP, and now all three of them are going to be on the safe. Yoshi is not going to be able to out-damage this, and it looks like Heretics should have a healthy enough lead, barring Joker getting super and coming back here. So I guess we'll see if he's able to get that super in the last 15 seconds of the game, but this is coming down to the wire right now. Heretics still in the lead, but they're losing positioning. Yoshi is still on the safe somehow, and it looks like, is that SK going to win? Wow. Unless Lanan is able to get the last lick of damage, that's not going to be enough. SK is going to come out on top right here and take a 2-0 lead.
That was actually quite dominant from SK Gaming. The fact that they were able to keep Yoshi up on the safe of Team Heretics was absolutely crazy, and they were able to shut down Heretics repeatedly. I just felt like Heretics got a lot of good interactions, but at the end of a favorable interactions, you saw two of them just fall like flies and completely nullified any sort of advantage that they could have capitalized on against their opponents. So SK Gaming playing it much cleaner than Heretics. I feel like Heretics have better pop-off moments, but don't really follow that up with any value whatsoever. So Heretics need to address that kind of deficiency going forward, at least for me.
I think they made the right decision leaving Yoshi on the safe. They just had to get more damage of their own, and somehow the other two members of SK were able to hold them off for that time. I kind of expected them to be able to hold mid control for the rest of that game, but Yoshi played it extremely well, getting the damage that they needed, and then coming back to allow his teammates a small gap to be able to finish off the rest of the damage that they needed there. So overall, well played to Heretics, better played to SK, and we're going to need to see Heretics with their back against the wall down 0-2. They're going to have to pull out something crazy here. Maybe we'll see Drage cook with another diabolical draft like the Cat Bowl that we saw in game number 1, but they're going to have to pull out some of the tricks out of the bag here. They are definitely looking like they could get swept by SK in round number 1.
Yeah, I mean, the games are quite close. I wouldn't say that it's a complete walk of SK over Team Heretics, but the experimental draft in the first set might have been one which bit them. I mean, maybe they bit a bit more than they could chew here, but hopefully in Triple Dribble, the draft is a bit more even for Team Heretics. But very well played from SK Gaming, very clean plays. When I mentioned Yoshi, I was specifically talking about that scenario where after the full committal from Team Heretics, Yoshi was still able to stay alive, and he got that Gree. I feel like that Gree was basically what pushed them over the edge and got that dub. We're gonna go into this third set here on Triple Dribble. It could be the last one, and that would be bad for Team Heretics. But looking at the draft here that we do have, we have the bans. They're gonna be B, Lumi, Carl, Jackie, Buzz, and Mo. First pick from SK Gaming, gonna go Chester, and I think you can't really go wrong with a Chester early pick.
You definitely can, 100%. I'm definitely intrigued by these bans by SK. They're taking out a lot of the more aggressive goal-scoring type brawlers, so I'm curious if they maybe have one of their own that they're looking to kind of take on their own side here. But it looks like they're going to be countering out the Chester with a Juju and a Finks. I'm very excited to see Finks, another brawler like Jackie that there is a lot of discourse about in the pro community, depending on if people think he's good or if he's trash. But either way, he does have a ton of damage, so it is going to be a little bit harder to take a tank into a Finks. And then obviously Juju, the best thrower in the game, gonna be a great matchup into Chester until he's able to get wall breaks down. So I definitely like Heretics 2-3 here. I'm very intrigued by this Finks, and I'm curious if SK is gonna even take any tanks and allow that Finks to shine.
Yeah, I think that Finks, like you mentioned, is a brawler that is quite contentious in terms of the discourse, and it is, though, a brawler that doesn't get picked up much, but when he gets picked up, he has an 83% win rate in EMEA, so it is something to be worried about if you're SK Gaming. And like you mentioned, once you have Finks, you can't really afford to give it all that value, and SK Gaming have to be careful. Despite the Finks, they decide to go for the Shade and the Stew coming out as well. But I don't know if they can really address what Team Heretics has brought to the table so far.
I don't know, though. I think the Shade might be a very slept-on pick on the map like this. I feel like he's one of those brawlers where if the map suits him, he's going to be pretty much unbeatable, and if the map doesn't suit him, then he's unplayable. This is definitely one of the maps where Shade can shine on, especially a good Shade. Using that speed is actually going to be a little bit ridiculous. The Stu is a much safer pick there, so not surprised to see that. And we're going to see the final pick, Hank, which I think is honestly the perfect thing to counter out the Shade, because the Shade wants to stand behind the walls, and guess who doesn't care about walls? It's Hank with that big bubble right there. So I like the Hank pick a lot. Overall, I'm very curious to see if the Shade is going to be able to get that much value onto the Juju, but if the Hank shadows the Shade, I think that Heretics probably does have comp here.
Yeah, I completely agree with that assessment. I think that the Heretics basically have a checklist of what they have to be worried about versus SK Gaming's draft, and I think they've basically marked everything off it. So it really does come down to how they're going to react to SK Gaming here. Because I feel 100%. Like their composition is more reactionary than something which you take control of.
Yeah, and it feels to me like SK was banning for the Shade more or less, with getting the Buzz out of the way, with getting the Jackie out of the way, trying to get some of those brawlers that counter the Shade out a little bit, but it looks like Heretics is very comfortable playing the Hank into that, and we're going to see Linane doing a lot of work already on the Hank right there, and Chaos is going to get a super onto the field already, going to be very difficult for Yashi to deal with, and we are just seeing Heretics completely hold down this lane right now. Ope is going to be trying to do something about it, but Lanan might be able to get a play here if he's able to keep his HP up and get rid of Ope. But Joker is out of there. Oh my goodness, he almost made an escape play, but now we're going to see Heretics back on the upper hand, and they're going to get the first goal of the game, Panda.
I thought that Joker might have got the fast break at least to clear the ball, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. Joker going to be going in against Lena, gets quite a lot of value, but quite low in that interaction. Drage getting taken out by Ope despite the fact that the super was placed down favoring them, and Ope addressing him was huge. Now IKOS going up against Joker, but Joker gets the better of him. Lena, the last one alive on his team, has to use a hypercharge just to keep them in contention. Ope doesn't get taken out despite the fact that Lenan's...
Wow.
What? How did he survive there? I was kind of crazy here.
I have no idea how Ope is still alive there, but he got the perfect wall break in too. It looked like he was very content just giving away his life to get that wall break out. Somehow was able to survive it. I feel like Lena should have had that kill there, but SK is going to get the rewards of their risk right there, and they're going to be able to tie this game up right here. Joker's going in with the invisibility right there, and it looks like he's probably going to be able to kill Drage. Lenon's going to have to get the ball away from Joker here for now, but it looks like these two aggressive picks from both teams are doing so much work right now, at least in terms of distracting. Joker has so many kills in this set so far. Absolutely ridiculous stuff to see, and it looks like SK is going to be taking full positioning here.
I mean, Drage does have quite a lot. Oh, Lenon trying to get the defense going down. Joker almost manages to get that one in. It is tied at 1 apiece here with 20 seconds on the clock. It still could be anybody's game, but overtime overwhelmingly favors SK Gaming, and Yoshi going in with a hypercharge, tries to get Chaos, not able to find it, puts speed zone down, passes the ball to Ope maybe, as Drage is the last one alive on his team, clears the ball, with the ball going back, it's going to be slotted to Ope, who manages to get that one in, and it's going to be match point for SK Gaming against Team Heretics.
Heretics has to find an answer right now. Joker is playing one of the most aggressive Shades I've ever seen in my life. The amount of plays he's going for is really fun to watch. I love the type of Shade that he's playing right now. It's absolutely electric. But like you said, even if it does go into overtime, I do feel like Heretics is more or less not going to be able to do anything in that point, because they do have the Hank and the Juju, whereas SK pretty much only has the Shade being useless there. So I think if you're Team Heretics, you have to hope to try to win this one 1-0, 2-0 and not let that go into overtime. They definitely have their backs against the wall, and they're going to need to answer quick.
Yeah, indeed. SK Gaming on match point here in a very dominant display. Joker going to go up against Lena once more on the right-hand side. Drage doesn't get the better of Yoshi just yet. Does get the kill, though, on a Joker. That's going to be huge. And now we can see Team Heretics move up the map a little bit. But with all the damage being taken, it seems like it might not be the case, as Yoshi has nullified a lot of the offensive coming in. Pass the ball to Joker. Joker with a fast break here. Can he get the goal? He's able to slot that one in. And that's going to be enough, actually, for SK Gaming to take the dub 3-0 in a clean sweep against Team Heretics.
Joker just with an absolute fast break 360 slam dunk. Crazy stuff on the Shade there. With that movement speed, he can be so unstoppable in the right situation. Once he got Lena out of the way, it was more or less over right there. So you got to give the flowers to Joker there. Played fantastic there. And we are going to see SK with a little bit of a surprising 3-0 sweep. I was at least thinking that Heretics might be able to take a set off of them. Looks like I was proven wrong here, and I hope to see a little bit more from them in the later rounds of this tournament.
I mean, I would love to see more from Team Heretics, but I have to mention Joker. That guy is absolutely crazy on the Shade. You did mention they needed a good player on Shade, and Joker just came out and completely destroyed the team. There were so many instances where he tried to make fast breaks to clear the ball or even get the goal, and he was able to do so. And I feel like those sort of mistakes should not happen at this level of gameplay, at this level of pro play. So there's some things that Heretics need to really address going forward. But honestly, I would say even though this was a 3-0 loss, what we saw from Heretics was very special, I would say.
100%. If that first gem grab game went a little bit differently, then you never know where we might have ended up here. But SK, especially Joker, were just playing with so much confidence through the end of that. You could tell that they were in their flow state right there. They were not going to be losing any games here. So Heretics looks like they might have gotten a little frazzled after potentially choking that first gem grab set. Definitely a lot of action to go down there. I'm going to have to watch the replay on that to see exactly what happened because I'm still a little bit bewildered about it. But overall, Heretics, I think, put up a very good fight. SK just proved that they were never going to be shaken. And once they got their flow going a little bit, they were just playing more confident and just better Brawl Stars than Heretics.
Yeah, I think it's like a crisis of confidence for Heretics, but honestly, if I was a member of Team Heretics right now, despite the L, I would still be confident because every single set has been very close. It might be a 3-0 in terms of the set score, but it was a really great match. And honestly, I haven't seen enough of Team Heretics in competitive, but now I'm looking forward to more of them. Looking forward to these monthly finals that we're going to be seeing.
100%. I think Heretics is one of those teams that definitely has the potential to be at the very top of their region, but just haven't really came into full form yet. So hopefully we'll be able to see more from them, as well as all the other teams that lost today. I think that really, besides the Ping Abusers game, I think even though the set numbers were pretty close, I feel like the gameplay was very, very even across the board here today. So we are clearly setting the stage for some absolutely electric games coming into the later parts of this event.
Indeed, and after the conclusion of day number 1 of this league phase, we have Reply Totem, Humble, SK Gaming, and Inner Circle on the top of the leaderboard with Eclipse, our Team Heretics, Ping Abusers, and Reverso at the bottom. It is day number 1. There are 6 more match days for teams to change up in their standings on this league so far. But at the end of the day, at the end of this league phase, the top 4 teams are the ones who are going to be able to travel to Valencia for the LAN event. So it's going to be coming down to those marbles, but it is still early days. You can't count out any of the bottom 4 teams just yet.
100%. And I'm very excited that the games went the way they did today. I do feel like some of our better teams that we would have expected to win are sitting atop the leaderboard right now. Obviously, always good to see that. But we'll be excited to see going into tomorrow when some of these heavy hitters start to play against each other. Who's going to come out on top and who maybe just got away with a little bit of an easier round number 1 or day number 1 game.
And once more, I just want to thank everybody for showing up today. Without you, the viewers, this is obviously not possible. So thank you very much to you guys, the viewers, the sponsors, the tournament organizers as well for setting up everything, and the pro players for giving us their amazing gameplay. And once more, I just want to say Duncan has been absolutely killing it. This man is going to be a name in the casting scene for sure. This was his first cast, guys, and he's been absolutely killing it. So make sure you guys follow Duncan on his socials. It is Duncan Brawl Stars on Twitch and on YouTube. He doesn't stream as much on Twitch, but hopefully that's going to be changing soon. But he is also on YouTube, daily content. So make sure you follow him there and subscribe.
Thank you so much, Panda. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for giving me an awesome audience for my first ever cast. Hopefully the first of many, but at least for the rest of this Valencia tournament, we'll be over here. I think we'll be tomorrow and Wednesday as well. So very excited to get into those games. Hopefully I'll be hitting my flow as a caster a little bit even harder as we keep on going. But once again, shout out to Panda. He made this a very, very comfortable transition for me. Awesome caster right there. Make sure you guys all show him some love as well.
Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure you guys are here tomorrow for the next 4 games. Thank you so much. Peace and love. Bye-bye.